What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the RSL. We're in day 3. I'm Tasteless. Joining me with me is State. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Yesterday we had some really fun StarCraft games, and today another really good group here in the round of 16. Harstem, SHIN, Cham, and Solar fighting it out for 2 more spots in that playoff bracket. And I gotta say, for a first week, dude, the games have been pretty spectacular. This has been fun. It's been cool.
It's this has been a lot of work in the making, but it's been exciting to get this set built, to kind of get the tournament organized, and day 2 ran a lot smoother than day 1, thank God. And day 3, we're ready to just to get into this, man. We've got some great Zerg players here today. Our odd man out is going to be Harstem, who's playing Protoss.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching what he brings to the table here in PvZ, because Harstem is one of those guys who can basically play all of the races at a high level. If you watch him on YouTube, he's an amazing content creator. He's breaking down builds for Terrans and Zergs, and yeah, I think he's going to have an interesting take on the matchup.
Guys, we are very proud to be sponsored by archonstudio here for Season 1 of the RSL. They're going to be releasing the StarCraft tabletop miniatures game. If you haven't checked out their website, I would highly recommend it. They've got a bunch of other tabletop games for a bunch of my other favorite games like Heroes of Might and Magic and other cool stuff. So we really appreciate their support. With their sponsorship, we were able to double the prize pool for the RSL.
Yeah, very exciting. Just keeps getting bigger and better here at the RSL. And if you want to be a part of our journey in saving StarCraft 2, you can go to patreon.com/ReviveSC2. As far as I'm concerned, Tasteless will give you the spiel again. Stalker, best bang for your buck right there.
Right.
Get to vote on the maps, get to vote on your players. Harstem playing today, one of those guys that got voted in.
Each of these tiers allows you to contribute a little bit more in the tournament. We're hoping to continue to increase the funding so that we can eventually do an offline event. In other words, like a place with a studio audience and everything like that. Another great way to support us is with our merch. We've got mugs, hoodies, t-shirts. If you are a Patreon supporter, you also get a 20% discount on all that and everything else at my merch shop. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, as for the schedule, it is now the 19th of June. We got 2 more days, including today this week, and then we're going to have 1 week off for the Home Story Cup that is not pictured here. And then we're going to be resuming kind of at lightning speed just because basically everything needs to wrap before EWC this year. But of course, with 2 more seasons of RSL already locked in for 2025, there's going to be a lot more breathing room in the group stages and the double elimination stages in the future. Just the next what, 4 or 5 weeks are going to be moving real fast, Tasteless.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not just going fast for us. It's going fast everywhere. We've got a lot of StarCraft 2 to get through. So you can see here, Group C, it's going to be a very Zerg-heavy group. And then tomorrow, Group D, this is the one I'm most excited about. It's going to be Raynor, Scarlet, Showtime, and Classic.
Yeah, that's going to be a really fun group. Honestly, all these groups have turned into some pretty interesting ones. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Classic is going to fare against Raynor and Scarlet, of course, reigning GSL champion, largely on the back of his strong defensive PvZ, but that's tomorrow. For today, we are going to be starting out with our first match here in Group C, Harstem versus SHIN.
Yeah, you can see both these guys almost ready to go hop into this game. It's going to be interesting to see how Harstem performs here.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a great player. He's won tournaments, but I would say I think some of the other players in this group are maybe a little bit stronger, but we'll see. Upsets can occur for sure.
Yeah, I think SHIN and Solar probably my favorites to advance in this group, but I mean, Harstem, he's a really crafty player. He looks at the game kind of in a unique lens just because he has been playing all the different races and making content with them and just streaming with them.
Dude, he's been killing it.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, I was like inspired when I saw what Harstem was able to do. He's got his YouTube to blow up. His stream's been great. So we're super excited to have him here in this tournament. It's going to be SHIN here in the top left and Harstem in the bottom right.
Yeah, and for Harstem here, you know, one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing him do today is just how he's going to deal with some of these PvZ builds that are kind of popping off in the meta, because on the train ride over here, I was actually watching one of these YouTube videos that Harstem made where he broke down a build that Cyril executed, I believe, in Bulgaria a couple of weeks ago. This ZVP effectively all in with a fast +1 melee on like 54, 56 drones with a ton of banelings, a ton of lings, basically designed to break the Protoss third base. And this is some cutting edge stuff. I mean, we saw this in the GSL, I believe in the round of 4 in the finals as well. And so, you know, it's the kind of build that if you don't see it before, you don't have a lot of practice against it, it can easily catch you off guard. But for someone like Harstem, who we'll see Cyril execute that build and then be like, you know what? I'm going to play Zerg. I'm going to do that build. Let's test this out. Let's give it a couple hours of a test drive and see how it's going to go. I'm just excited to see what he's going to do, because it's really a different perspective when you're playing all the different races of the game, seeing how these builds shake out, not just from the Protoss perspective as defending, but also from the Zerg perspective and attacking. I feel like we're going to see some interesting approaches here today from Harstem.
Yeah, you're totally right, too. You get a real different perspective when you start to actually play all the races. You know, the challenge always with StarCraft is that, like, it's kind of impossible to play all the races perfectly. Like, you know, there's so much nuance and so much subtlety in each of the matchups, and, of course, all the different maps that we have, that you basically have to commit to one race and do a deep dive there. So in this game, we've got the Nexus on the way here. We're waiting for that cybernetics core to finish up, and then we'll get an idea of what kind of tech it's going to be here from Protoss.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what it will be here from Harstem. So far, the meta in PvZ, if you want to play the super standard approach, is going to be that Stargate going around maybe 217, which is exactly where Harstem times it. A third base timing coming in behind that, and then generally the macro build is 6 gates, +1 ground weapons, blink, and very fast storm. We have had a couple players deviate from that, either with timing attacks or some real greed in terms of going gas first, getting a faster Stargate. But I feel like for Harstem, I think he wants to kind of feel this one out. SHIN is one of these more aggressive Zerg players that we have here in Korea. Whenever I think of SHIN in ZVP, I think of like maxed armies of Roaches and Ravagers very early on in Legacy of the Void. He likes to just move across the map and kill you. And so I think in this kind of situation here, as Harstem is going to be sending that into the main base, checking the link count, you want to be proactive with your scouting and just try to feel the game out reactively a little bit from the Protoss side.
So it's going to be an Oracle coming along here. You know, Zerg right now is still just in a droning, developing phase for the time being. And, you know, when you see that first Oracle coming out, it doesn't really tell you a whole lot. The most common route is what this Nexus play that we're going to see here. You can squeeze 1 to 2 Adepts in between the minerals and the pylon. And, you know, the Oracle, if it's in range of the Nexus, it's almost impossible to kill off with Lings. You know, it does damage so fast. That doesn't mean you can't do something like hit when the Oracle's on the other side of the map, but the point in case is that this is developing into a very standard PvZ.
Yeah, one thing that's a little bit interesting for me, though, Tasteless, is that we don't have a second Oracle in production right now. Instead, it's a much faster Twilight Council here for Harstem. So this could be dangerous if SHIN had made a lot more Lings and was trying to go for the cancel because the Oracle is cross-map. It'd probably need to be recalled and then energy recharge to deal with that. And we do have a swell of Lings coming in, 16 more finishing production just now. But I wonder where Harstem is going to go with this, because there isn't a Forge, it's a faster Twilight, a faster Blink, and a relatively quick 3 more gateways coming in.
Okay, Blink is being upgraded now, and you know, we'll see if he kind of goes into a little bit more of that hero style that I'm totally obsessed with. You know,
yeah.
It was kind of like the Oracle Stalker combination where you're kind of putting pressure on the Zerg. One of the things I love most about it is when I see them take their 4th base and they throw gateways down to kind of wall that off. And it's like you're kind of forcing, you're just trading overall better with the Zerg, and eventually you outgrow them, and it kind of becomes this overwhelming amount. So SHIN's Lings come in here. You could see the Adepts are wedged, you know, in that kind of little nook where the minerals are, but not enough damage. Didn't target down the Nexus, wouldn't have mattered either way because the Oracles come back here. He is going for +1 attack, but behind this, it's a lot more drones coming down here in what is appearing to be just a very, very kind of macro development-oriented game.
Yeah, but because there is a little bit of a lack of gateway units here in the 3rd base, the Lings can make moves like this where, I mean, Harstem is microing this very well, by the way. I was expecting a lot more probes to go down. SHIN is kind of hoping that Harstem maybe oversaturates that 3rd base or saturates it a little bit more quickly than he actually is.
What do you think of the 24 Lings that are about to hatch here?
I think this is cool, man.
Yeah.
Remember, I was just telling you, I was watching a Harstem video where he tried to do like a 56 drone Ling Baneling attack with +1 that Cyril did.
Yeah.
That's what SHIN's doing in this game right now. That's
that's
kind of serendipitous.
Sick. So, yeah, he's going to have the Baneling's Nest done here. Harstem, you know, the gateways are just now starting to kick in. He's getting his Forges and basically building up. Now, Stalkers, it's not like they're good or bad versus Lings. It just kind of depends on what the position is and can they blink away and get to safety. But, you know, when you have an overwhelming amount of Zerglings, the Stalkers will blink away and then just get surrounded and killed.
Yeah, Lings coming in. Actually, not all of them going for a surround. I was wondering if SHIN was going to try and go for the flank. Instead, he's just going to be counterattacking here at the 3rd base, forcing another big round of Stalker Warpins here at that 3rd. And even with energy recharge, this is a lot of energy being utilized on that shield battery, on those Oracles as they activate the Pulsar beams, turn the mech off. And for SHIN, he's not going to be fully committing to the Baneling and Ling timing attack. Instead, we see a big round of drones. He just wanted to get some map control there with a really fast +1 melee and transition to Hydra.
Yeah, the Lings are going to try to wrap around the side over here. And, you know, I think the Stalkers, especially because of the position they're in, and they can blink into the minerals, and yeah, probably can't be touched like we just saw happen over there. Nice job with the Oracles, though. Going to zap down a couple drones, getting at least 4, taking some hull damage on the Oracle.
Yeah, Harstem with some really good moves so far in this game. That early blink paying some dividends right now as he's able to get a lot of value out of these Stalkers, both offensively and defensively. And Now transitioning in kind of a different way into Storm. He's adding in a ton of gateways. He's getting Charge and a Robo. So this is looking a little bit more like Harstem might want to fight here in the mid game against a very Ling-heavy composition that SHIN is running. Because we do have the 4th base coming in, but I don't know. It's a lot of production very early on here for Harstem. I think this might be like 8 or 9 gateways in total once these are done.
Yeah, he's going to get that Robo. The Storm's about to finish, and so is Zealot Charge. But yeah, you know, it's been a game where both sides are just kind of building up. You know, SHIN's had some attempted pokes and jabs in here, but it's been fairly inconsequential. Ooh. I mean, oh, that was crazy. Wow. Nice Storm, actually. A lot of times it's not a great move to Storm Lings. That was really, really good. And, you know, he's going to be able to regen that energy in no time because, you know, he's not close to pushing just yet. SHIN is on 5 bases. I would say on this map, after this 5th base, it's kind of hard to grow. This map is shaped in kind of a funny way. You have like the really, really far away bases on the side, and then you have these bases in the middle, which are just, it's hard to imagine keeping that. There's a ton of Banelings being made here. There's a gateway pylon, a gas wall. I think SHIN wants to try to hit from 2 different sides here. We see a lot of Hydras heading over here into the south. There's that gateway wall I was talking about that I always get pretty hyped for, State. And, you know, the gateway wall makes it a lot harder to kind of hit these 2 different angles at the same time.
Yeah, Storm is going to come in on those Lings. A lot of them going down right now. Melee +2 attack nearly finished here for SHIN. And I have my eyes right now on the minimap because at 3 o'clock, there are a ton of Lings and Banelings. I think he is looking for SHIN as that is the kind of timing attack that you were talking about where he hits from multiple angles. Stasis Trap does get disabled here on just 4 Lings. And now the Banelings going to be running here into the 3rd base. Not a lot of support for them. And so a Storm is going to come down. Connection's not fantastic. I would say well handled there by Harstem, not really losing too much static defense, not taking too much damage on his army. Does drop 1 Archon as he kind of tests the waters there in front of his base. And now SHIN's coming in for a much bigger attack. These Banelings getting much better connections here as he's looking for surrounds on these Stalkers. Oh wow, with +2, they really pack a punch against that big group of gateway units. But with a follow-up Warpins here from Harstem, he does have, I think, maybe 1 more Storm left. That Templar may be a little bit low on energy. I think just not enough there for this Storm, and this 3rd base is quickly getting overrun, Tasteless.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty crazy right now. The 3rd base did turn out to be the most vulnerable location. It's going to get toppled. We've got a lot of Hydras over here. Harstem's not giving up yet, though. He's going to warp in some more Zealots. The Nexus is painfully low, so the moment these Zealots get killed off, the Nexus is, in fact, going to fall as well. I also see on the, yeah, there's some Lings hitting down here. By the way, taking out the Cybernetic Score, it's one of these like super painful things that happens. You need that wall in early on, but like so many important units come from that Cybernetic Score. And I think this is probably going to be the tipping point. I feel like SHIN is probably just going to close this game out with a victory here versus Harstem.
Yeah, I think the income might be just a little bit too sparse right now for Harstem to try and stabilize. Good Storm is going to connect on both Lings and Hydra. Second one is dodged there by SHIN as these Archons, Oracle, and 1 Zealot, the only forces left standing here for our Protoss player. And SHIN with a pretty commanding push here in game number 1.
GG. Nicely done. Okay, so SHIN, I mean, just an incredible closing there. You know, Harstem had almost built up to the point where it was like time to actually start to roam on the map and do the push. I don't know. You'll have to tell me, State, because I'm actually not clear on this. When you do that kind of aggro style with the Stalkers coming out on the map and pushing, is it always 4 bases? Or can you do that on 3?
Oh, you mean the Stalkers with the Oracles pairing up?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I feel like if you see Hero do it, I mean, it's not quite as popular now because people figured out that massing +1 Lings kind of the same way that SHIN did in that game. Even with the Oracles, it's pretty good relatively at shutting it down, and it transitions nicely into Hydra Link timing attacks, just like SHIN was able to do. Yeah, typically I would say the 4th base is a little bit faster, but this is a build that has moved out of the meta quite a bit. I think just because, I mean, there's a couple of reasons there at play, right? Is first, Zerg's got better at figuring how to deal with it, and simultaneously, Protoss got a much better option with the energy recharge of going for a really fast Storm. And so it's not something that we see quite as often. Still Harstem deploying that there with a really fast blink in game number 1.
Who's got a better streaming room setup? I'm kind of digging Harstem's.
I like SHIN's
because
going
there's
with the potential, green man. That green screen, it could be literally anything. It could even be Harstem's room if he wanted it to be.
I'll tell you what, man. I mean, the green screen, he cannot wear that green T-shirt with that green screen. The one in the background there.
True. You're going to have the...
Yeah, that's true. Maybe Harstem's is actually a green screen of that room behind him. You're right.
It's like a Getty's Images shot of just like some kind of nice apartment. But Yeah, it is curious that SHIN has the green screen, but he's not. It's just a wall.
It always bothers me
It's
when
a barrier.
when I just see the green. I'm like, just put on a background then if you've got the green screen back there. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's take advantage of that thing.
Yeah.
We're going to go into game number 2 now. It's going to be on ley lines. We need to see, is Harstem going to be able to play a better game? I don't know if he wants to go for kind of more of a development game where he's just macroing and attacking up, or maybe he wants to be a little bit cheesy. I guess we're going to find out.
All right, SHIN spawning here in the top right, Harstem down in the bottom left. I will say that the initial defense there from Harstem, it seemed like it was going quite well. That first volley of Banelings and Lings came in by SHIN, and the storms were well placed. Not a lot of static defense went down. The connection on the gateway units wasn't that substantial, but SHIN, I mean, his timing attacks, they are just generally so powerful that even with the first blow not really doing too much damage, the follow-up punch coming in from SHIN was just a bruiser. I mean, he was sitting at, what, 80-something drones, I think just the lair tech, everything basically honing in on trying to hit this specific timing with Hydraling Bane right in this moment of weakness where Harstem is setting up for this 4th base. He's starting to overextend himself, not because he's making a mistake, but just because that's kind of the way the game develops naturally, right? As a Protoss player is, suddenly you take that 4th base and you're getting spread a little bit thin. So I really like that approach there from SHIN in game number 1.
So in game number 2, we got to see what kind of, tech Harstem wants to go for. Will he do maybe something different, like an adept timing, or anything like that? There's a lot of different ways to play PvZ here. Or does he feel like in that last game he can basically, make a couple of adjustments and not die to the all-in, by just holding that off and then pushing out a little bit later on?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does. Now, this is the first time the probe is actually moving out on the map. I wasn't paying too much attention to the production tab at the beginning, but because this was no scout here until 140, it might have even been a gas first opening here from Harstem. We're gonna have to see when that first Stargate does get thrown down exactly what the timing is. But I'm kind of expecting the same basic skeleton of a build from Harstem here with maybe just a couple of adjustments, because SHIN, although there are a lot of aggressive Zergs both on the European ladder and the Korean ladder, it feels like SHIN's kind of next level when it comes to these aggro plays. Like, he's the guy that you will see, I think it was a couple weeks ago in Dallas, in ZVT, he busted out this build where he was on, I want to say 70 drones with a 7-minute hive going super fast ultra. Like, he's always trying to push the envelope in some way, in some matchups, to find a little bit more power, a little bit more potential for aggression, and it makes him a very dangerous opponent. It was kind of stunning that he didn't qualify for GSL Season 1 this year, but he seems to be really regaining his form right now. And if I'm Harstem, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, how do I survive the mid-game safely and navigate myself into a late game where I have a clear edge?
So, in this game, we have the Stargate coming along here. I assume it's going to be Oracles again. We'll see if there's any plot twists on that front here. And for SHIN, I mean, look, ZVP in general, there's not a lot that's going to happen early on if the Protoss or the Zerg doesn't elect to do anything crazy. And this is one of those games. I mean, we're just seeing that Oracle come up here. We'll probably have that 3rd Nexus thrown down. Zerg's just going to keep massing up drones. He may not even get as many links as he got in the last game.
We will see. Harstem now, he is setting up for that 3rd base just on 1 gateway here with the Oracle. And so far, the build's kind of mirroring what he went for there in game number 1. This is a 1 gateway, 1 adept, 1 stalker, 3rd base, right when the Oracle's coming in. So it's a little bit greedy, but that game number 1, SHIN wasn't really able to punish it that much. He did make a lot of lings, and he's starting that kind of swarm of lings once again. Last game it was 16. We'll see if he decides to make more or less in this instance. But he didn't get too much probe damage in. He was just able to deny mining a little bit. I think he might have killed a shield battery. He might have gotten an adept, but it wasn't too substantial. And so I like how safe Harstem is playing this, because he's going for the faster Twilight. He's getting a much faster Robo here in game number 2. And that Oracle is just hanging back. It should be in a very good position to prevent these links from getting too much damage done onto this Nexus.
So, the Robo's coming along. Quick question. Did he get the Robo very late in game 1, or was that a second Robo?
Oh no! Oh, the sucker is slightly out of place, and a lot of these Lings able to come in. You can see Harstem scooting it like a couple pixels forward so this doesn't happen again. Very painful because Harstem is mixing this up a little bit. To your point, Tasteless, this is a faster robo than it was there in game number 1, and I think Harstem was probably hoping that would be a little bit of an element of surprise here in game number 2, but with Lings getting into the main base and soon unpowering the only active gateway on the map, oh, this is so painful right now for our Protoss player. More probes falling, 2 in total already going down, but Harstem has no secrets. SHIN sees absolutely everything. The gateways are finally just now coming back online. This is not the early game that Harstem was foreseeing here in game 2.
Okay, the Warp Prism is coming out. Now, a lot of times when you see the Warp Prism, at the least it's harass, at the most it's a push. I'm assuming he's just going to have some kind of light harass coming out here.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering if this is going to be a double Archon drop. I wonder if that's what he was originally gunning for.
I hadn't thought of that, actually. That's a good point.
Because we have the really fast Templar Archives. There is a very quick Warp Prism. This is something that Need popularized, I don't even know how many years ago. It was kind of the meta in PvZ for quite some time, but it has fallen off. It would kind of make sense for this to come back in StarCraft 2 now that storm transitions are so much better, right? With energy recharge, you can go for 2 Archons like this, you can get some damage done, buy yourself some time, and then back at home, you're teching up into storm, you're getting your forges, and you should be nice and safe. I like this. I feel a little bit sad that we got derailed a little bit there early on as Harstem, because I would love to see the full potential of this build. This is something that I haven't really seen anybody try to execute here in the current iteration of StarCraft 2 in the current patch. But it does make a lot of sense, right?
No, it does. I think it's not a bad idea at all. I actually kind of forgot about Archon drops. I feel like we don't see them that often. They used to be like every game you could just, you know, predict them to come out. But yeah, they're a bit passé now. For Zerg, I mean, he's powering up a lot of Hydras. He's getting that missile attack upgrade. We've got the roaming Warp Prism here, but obviously Hydras are going to make it pretty tough, especially when you're flying over creep, to engage or do that much with it. And so, you know, he's going to unload over here, but there's so many roaches, this isn't really doing that much. You know, the beauty of Archon drops is that as long as you don't lose the Archons, you're really not suffering any damage. Like, they're all shields, right? And they're going to regen those shields over time. But in this case, he's actually not doing... I would say any real damage here at all.
Yeah, I think just the element of surprise being gone and also Harstem being slowed down a little bit by SHIN's early attack, the Lings getting into the main base and the natural expansion, kind of takes the wind out of the sails here for this opening. And now it's actually SHIN getting aggressive. Storm is done for Harstem. I'm not sure how many Templar we have, how many Storms available. It looks like just the one for now, is although 3 of those Templar are very close to getting their first energy for Storm. And SHIN's going to be coming in on 2 sides right now. There is 1 sentry available for Force Field. First Storm does pop here for Harstem, just kind of zoning away the Roach Hydra there on the left side. 4th Immortal joining forces here with the rest of the army. There's a lot of power behind Harstem's composition, but he's got to be careful. Charge isn't done just yet. This is kind of a slow and immobile composition. But I will say he's executing quite well so far. These Storms, they've been making good connections. Are we going to have follow-up Storms coming in? 2 of these Templar are very low on energy. One of them in the front line is getting taken out. Just not enough support.
I felt like Harstem was doing a really good job there, holding that. And then, you know, at the last second, it just wasn't quite enough. It's pretty tough for the Protoss when they're being hit from 2 sides, right? Protoss always want to be kind of like in a valley or in a tight, you know, narrow angle where they can kind of mitigate how much damage is going to be dealt to them. Now, there are 2 Immortals here, and I mean, the Templars are way in the back. The problem is now the Nexus is tanking damage. You can always use the Nexus to soak up a little bit and kind of draw some units around it to fight, but you know, if the number gets overwhelming like we're seeing right now, it's not going to matter. I mean, this Immortal's going to go down. It looks like there's a new one here to replace it, but the Zerg units are just killing this off so fast. GG! SHIN takes game number 2. Fast 2-0 to start off Group C.
Yeah, I really like some of the ideas that Harstem was playing with, especially there in game number 2, but SHIN just hitting a very sharp timing attack was basically able to knock him over, you know? I mean, that third base, maybe if Harstem had 1 more round of Warp-ins and just a little bit more time for those Templar to get the initial swell of energy for that first Storm, he would have been fine. But it's kind of a difficult line to walk when you're going for a build where you're getting the Templar out really early plus those Archons, and you're going for 4 Immortals because there isn't too much support for that core group.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how Harstem fares in the other matches here. Maybe he still has a shot, but that looked pretty rough. That was just Zerg kind of making stuff and running him over back there. Guys, we're going to take a short little break. When we return, we're going to have some ZVZ action here for our second best of 3 here in today's RSL. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. So we just saw Harstem fall. He is not out of the group yet. He'll be in the losers match here. Coming up next, we've got a little ZVZ for you.
Yeah.
And possibly a lot of ZVZ all night, just depending on how these games go.
Yeah,
so.
there could be. I'm hoping that Harstem goes far just so we get more PBZ, but also because I'm a fan of the guy. But yeah, Cham versus Solar is going to be a really interesting match. This is one that on paper, you know, Solar, I always talk about how good he is at ZVZ and how I was kind of surprised that he lost to Rogue in the GSL just because of how good his ZVZ typically is. But if I'm not mistaken, I think that Cham actually took him down 2-1 in some online cup like a week or two ago.
Really?
Which was really surprising to me. I was trying to find the VOD and I literally couldn't find it. I was like scrambling on the trailer. Where is this VOD? I need to see how Cham played. But yeah, that is a really exciting result. Cham is one of these guys who is absolutely so passionate about StarCraft 2. Legend of the Americas scene. You will see him. I mean, years ago, he would even fly out to like Cheesadelphia lands in the United States. He would be playing basically every one of those Latin American tournaments. This guy is an absolute legend of American StarCraft, and he's always had kind of a unique style. I remember back in the day when I would like fly back to America and I would queue up on the American servers and I would match up against Cham. I would always kind of dread it because he's back then. I'm not sure how much it is now in ZVP for Cham, but he would love to go for proxy hatches sometimes. He would get like Ling floods. He would go for drops. He's got a very unique take on the game. He's very, very creative in the way that he tries to dismantle his opponents. It's not that he's incapable of macro, but he likes to do macro with a little bit of flair, a little bit of zest, you know? And it makes for very fun games to watch.
I was thinking, I don't know if I've actually casted a Cham game.
I've never casted. I've played against him a bunch.
I feel like I've casted everybody, but then when I think about this, I go, no, I don't. I know I've obviously been at tournaments that he's been at, but yeah, this might actually be my first Cham cast, which is kind of crazy. Solar right now is in incredible shape. He looked very strong in the GSL. I don't know if it's fair to say that this is a Solar favored matchup. Would you agree with that?
I feel like Solar is favored in ZVZ versus basically everybody, but I'm like a huge Solar ZVZ fan, so that's part of it. Like it's Solar or Rogue are like the two guys that I'm going to take just because they're so cheesy, and I feel like that's the right way to play that matchup. But
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these two size up. Cham's been looking very strong lately. It would be cool to see him advance here. Going forward, it looks like we're almost ready to go. We got our players gearing up in the game, and then we're going to get into the ZVZ.
Yeah, I could be Persephone there for map number 1, and I'm really interested in seeing what Cham's approach is going to be, because usually people have a variety of different responses to the way that Solar plays when they go against him in a series, because with Solar, there is a very dangerous level of randomness when you play against him as a Zerg, because he is liable to do anything. He will be really greedy in one game with his macro, and then the next game he will do like a 14 gas, 13 pool, like 12 hatch.
He does do a lot of crazy
something absurd, right? It was kind of funny because you usually expect him to be the aggressor in that mirror matchup, but when we watched, I believe it was Rogue versus Solar, it was Rogue who's like, you know what, I'm going to be aggressive even faster than Solar can be aggressive, and that's how I'm going to knock him off his game. Yeah. And so there's always like the interesting little sub-metas that happen in ZVZ or these other mirror matchups where you kind of anticipate the way the opponent is going to play. You try to play around the meta and play around the player. I really want to see what Cham is going to do, because it does have the potential for him to be just super safe and try and be like, okay, what is Solar going to throw at me? How am I going to stop this? How do I basically defuse the bomb that he is setting? Yeah. Or we might just see him completely go gung-ho, just arms blazing, and go for like 12 pools or 13 pools, some kind of crazy play. Anyway, we're about to find out. Our game is loading up, spawning down in the bottom left. We have the blue Zerg. Solar, the top left. Our red Zerg. Cham, I am so excited to go into this series.
Yeah, I'm pretty hyped for this one. By the way, Solar, I think he still rocks the best stream room out of all the players we have here.
Yeah, dude, it is fantastic.
At that. Look at this. First of all, it's the biggest streaming room.
It's so spacious, right?
He's got shelves with all sorts of like trophies on it and stuff. This is, pro gamers, take note about the room that Solar broadcasts from. I find it by far the best.
Solar might be like have some claustrophobia issues, man. He's like, this room needs to be as spacious as humanly possible.
That's right.
Because keep in mind, this is in Korea, man. Like my apartment's a lot smaller than that.
No, we're all living in box Asian apartments out here. Like it's
that's a nice place, dude.
Yeah, that's definitely definitely more spacious than most people's rooms where they stream from. So in this game in ZVZ, we basically need to look at the production tab and figure out where is the difference in build orders, because right now things are mirrored.
Yeah, kind of interestingly so. I was expecting maybe a little bit more early game shenanigans as we have the first deviation coming in. I think it's a 1 drone faster gas and pool for Solar as opposed to Cham. Which is, or actually maybe just a couple seconds faster. I don't even think it's a drone faster. So yeah, effectively mirrored build here as we're pushing 1 minute 30. And sometimes this is the way that ZVZ goes. I can't think back on how many games we have casted where they're taking the third base and they're making the exact same number of Zerglings and all the upgrades are finishing at the exact same time. But with Cham and Solar, I am a little bit surprised that this is the way that game 1 is playing out here. I was expecting deviations to be hitting a little bit more quickly, honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean, for now, we just got to basically sit back and wait for the change in build orders. It's probably going to go all the way up to 3 hatches on both sides. And look, there's nothing that says you have to attack into each other early on in ZVZ, but we do have a lot of games where it's like one guy's droning, the other guy's going to mass lings or try to hit in a certain way. But for now, as Artosis would say, these are honorable Zergs choosing to go the macro way.
Yeah, playing a safe macro ZVZ is what a lot of pro Zerg players will say is the hardest thing to do in this matchup because there are just so many different attacks that people can throw at you. And
it
Cham
does look
is
like the
doing
drone's hands does look like he has little pizza cutters.
Oh yeah,
You
with his
see that?
skin, doesn't he?
Yeah, with his skin. All I see is like I want the drone to run up and just start to slice. Yeah, do you see it kind of?
Yeah, look at that.
When they don't have the mineral in their hand, they do seem to have.
It's almost like
You
spinning,
know what I'm
isn't
talking,
it?
right? What is that called? Is that a pizza cutter?
Yeah,
the technical term.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's a very American thing, the pizza cutter too, because I
Yes.
think a lot of the dignified countries will use like a fork and a knife or even scissors or something.
Some American animals decided that we need to like cut slices of pizza quickly.
I got a pizza oven after GSL season 2, and I've been making some pies. I'm trying to make Neapolitans, and I got the scissors, and I was like, this is the way the Italians do it. And like my girlfriend lived in India, she's like, that's not how they do it. And I was like, okay, I'm a fraud.
Yeah. Let's get your passport out here and see where you're from, and then let's give you a pizza cutter.
Yeah.
So this game, again, things still very much mirrored. Ling Speed's about to finish on both sides. There are a few Lings being made, but those are a lot of times kind of Lings that you can use to morph into Banes if you were to get hit by an all-in. The Roach Warren starts here for Solar. And yeah, that might and the Evo Chamber. So we got to see what's going to happen on Cham's side now.
Yeah, Solar just kind of getting ready for any potential Ling floods here too. With a really nice SimCity. You can see the same thing going on Cham's side as Solar with that one Ling. It's just gonna have a glimpse here into the natural expansion of Cham, not really scouting too much. And as it is now, we are kind of taking different paths towards the same end. I think the biggest deviation I can see thus far is that I'm pretty sure Cham does not have an evolution chamber done just yet. Is that right? So no upgrades for Cham, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the question is, is he going to be going for the same thing that Solar is? Because if he is, he's just going to be fundamentally behind, right? We already got the missile upgrade coming down right now here for Solar. In what is turning out to be a pretty intense macro game here on both sides.
Yeah, it's been a very slow ZVZ.
But by the way, this map, each side's expansions are really far from each other here. So we have, a lot of bases that can...
Sorry, we have Cham's taking 5 gases right now, Tasteless. What is going on?
Yeah, that's actually wild.
That's going to be so much gas. I'm sorry, I feel like I've never seen this in a ZVZ or like the GSL. This is so
you can
unique.
eventually go up to that, but the fact that he's doing it all at once is really interesting. But, I mean, the more important thing is that Solar is... he's going to be hitting here. I mean, he's getting his roaches. He's going to be getting Lings behind this. And he's going to have his missile attack. And the idea with this push is that you have the roaches doing the damage, and you just keep making Lings that will meet up in the front, that'll tank damage. And the roach ball basically will snowball the fight. And, right now, I mean, there's still more drones being made. Aspire started, but I don't know if the Spire is going to be ready. Actually, I know it's not going to be ready in time for this attack that's about to hit here from Solar.
Yeah, Cham just realized that, too. He canceled the Spire, but right now he's at 65 drones with 6 gases. And Solar's doing a 47 drone all in. We have so many more Lings in production. Missile attack level 1 is about to complete here for the Blue Zerg. we are not going to see the game that Cham wanted to play. Instead, it is going to be Solar's game to decide. Coming in with the aggression right now, attacking into the junction between the natural and the third base. SimCity actually working a little bit in Solar's favor here, with Cham a little bit clogged up, trying to come outside that natural expansion. Drone's taking a lot of damage, as you see a very clean worker spread there from Cham, kind of mitigating the Baneling slash, but Solar just has so much coming in.
Yeah, this is GG. I mean, look,
Wow.
I was kind of interested in what Cham wanted to do, but like if one guy's strategy basically starts before the other one is ready, it doesn't matter what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
So like a really powerful 3-base +1 missile attack build there from Solar, making it look easy. You know, it's when you have that many roaches, as long as you're continuously making lings, and in some of those pushes you want to have like a lot of banes depending on what they're going for. Other ones you just want to have lings, but you just keep those guys in the front, and the roaches are doing so much damage it's really hard to hold. You could even see actually at the wall-in for Cham, he like has to go out to the front side of his wall-in, because the wall-in in StarCraft is a lot of times like a double-edged sword, right? Like you need to kind of barricade yourself up so that you can't get hit early on, but then sometimes these really important buildings are part of that defensive formation, and then if you lose that, then you can lose key tech. So Cham basically turtled, powered up, and then went for 5 extractors, trying to go into mutas, which is, you know, when you pointed out, I thought, I don't think I've cast a game like this before, where, you know, a lot of times in StarCraft you go, oh, I've kind of seen this back and forth. So interesting. Let's see what happens now. Again, no one says you have to macro up in a ZVZ. Cham Solar, guys, game 2 coming up now. Bloop, 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 bloop.
I do
Cue
love that
the
bubble
RSL
graphic.
Bubbles.
All right, Cham spawning here in the top right of ley lines, the red Zerg. Solar in the bottom left, the blue Zerg. And yeah,
now that we zoom in and I see the drone's hands now, it's, oh yeah, it's kind of like they have little frisbees. Maybe a little like tea plates that they're holding. You know what I'm talking about?
They mine the minerals. They put them on these nice
tea plates at grandma's house.
Yeah, they're very elegant drones,
Yes.
serving up the minerals on a platter.
Well,
whereas
it's
here
an
we just
important
have
day, so we're going to use the nice we're going to use the nice dishes here. Okay. So in this game, Solar's going to go for a fast hatch. Cham's going to do the same thing. His is like a second later, but same idea. And we once again wait for the deviation. You know, in the build orders, but I think it's probably just going to be gas and then pool. Yeah.
Yeah, last game it was a long while before we had those meaningful deviations, but I told you, Cham, he has kind of a unique outlook on Zerg. It's really refreshing to watch him play some of these games because he does it at such a high level too. I cannot think back on the last time that I saw a Zerg of this caliber go for 65 drones and 6 gases with a Spire against Solar of all people. You know, that takes some real bravery there from Cham. I wonder if he's going to dial it back here, if he's just going to lean in a different direction going up against one of the most aggressive and explosive ZVZ players that we have here in Korea.
Yeah. So for now, you know, we don't have any kind of crazy cheeses. Cham, you know, basically, we didn't get to see much of what he had there because, you know, the timing attack basically worked and shut him down here. But, you know, we were saying earlier, Solar has such an incredible range of build orders, and I think he's one of the best, one of the best randomizers for build order selections. Like, you know, if you play StarCraft and you ladder, a lot of times the way that if you're like, you know, a new player and you're trying to get good, is you pick like pretty much one build for each matchup, you know, and then you know, you try to get that down, and eventually you go, okay, I think I've got that down, and that works on these maps or against these types of players, and then you go, okay, now I need another build, because maybe that's a little bit better on this map, because this timing attack will work, or it's safer to macro on this map, and you know, you can get super high rank and ladder with just a handful of builds, but once you get into a tournament, it's so important that you have like a very wide range of build orders so that people can't just try to counter what you're doing. Right? It's why we don't do best of ones really in StarCraft. We want to have a series of games because, you know, you can always get caught off guard or get tripped up here. But Solar, I've always found him, because in my head I'm always trying to predict, like, okay, if I was them, what would I do? Or, you know, is there an obvious... Sometimes you can even have a build order from earlier on that kind of layers on to look like the same build order in a game 2 or 3, but it's actually different. There's a whole bunch of crazy mind games that can go on with this. Anyways, yeah, Solar is god tier. at basically mixing that up.
I feel like why he's had so much success historically in ZVZ is because, you know, scouting, if you can't get the Lings into the main base, or sometimes even if you can get the Lings into the natural expansion or the main, there's always room for the element of the surprise. You know, sometimes we've even seen players, if they're going for a Spire and they're trying to greed it out, but they want it to be hidden, they will like send an Overlord into the corner of the map and drop the creep and build a Spire out there. Having a wide range and being able to mix things up and just keep your opponent guessing is such an important part of ZVZ. I feel like maybe even more so than any other mirror matchup.
By the way, this game resembles the last game. All of the attack for Solar has started earlier. And that's not good or bad, by the way. It's just, you know, it is interesting because Solar hit with that timing attack and crushed Cham. And Cham, you know, he may be kind of mirroring the same behavior in the last game, and I think it is a real possibility that Solar goes for some kind of a timing attack.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if Solar was trying to go for something like that again here in game number 2. So we do have the Evolution Chamber coming in just a moment at the natural expansion. Touch later, I think, than it was in game number 1 between these guys, but I think the main thing to keep your eyes on is how many gases is Cham going to take and what are the worker counts going to be, because in game 1 it was, like 15 drone discrepancy, something like that, something huge. And right now, we kind of have the same thing happening. Solar is sitting on 44 drones. He's got that third base. I think he might have even oversaturated the third base, like transferred a lot of drones from the natural and the main to make it look like he has a bigger eco. And then he started the Roach production. He is dialing it back, going back into drones and starting the lair alongside +1 missile attack, but it does feel like the overarching theme from game 1 and game 2 is that Cham is just a little bit greedier here.
Yeah, he wants to try to just squeeze out as much as he possibly can, and we're going to see, you know, if there's going to be the same kind of timing here. The layers are coming down here on both sides. We've got a couple scouting Lings that have been jettisoned out on the map to try to see if they can get in there. But yeah, you know, I mean, right now we have Roaches moving across the map. Missile attack is maybe like 30% done for Solar, and that might have actually been a fake there from Cham. So, you know, it's important to remember that Zerg, they produce very differently from Terran and Protoss in that everything comes from the egg, right? Or larva turns into an egg, I should say. So a lot of times you can like fake an attack and try to force them to make Roaches when they would have wanted to make drones, and that can slow you down.
Yeah, so moves like that, sharking around the map like Cham, just trying to make Solar build around a Roaches when he would much prefer to have some drones in similar ways to game number 1. We have Cham actually going for those extra geysers and the Spire. I would say considerably less greedy this time, considering that Solar is also macroing up. And Solar, it seems like he is going to be going for a much more multi-pronged style of play here with his Roaches. He's getting Overlord speed. We've seen players mix this in with Tunneling Claws and with Burrow, so I'm curious whether Solar's actually going to queue those upgrades up to see if he can try and attack and drop in multiple occasions and just cause problems all over the map here for Cham. But as it is right now, just powering up with Roaches is Solar, and Cham really starting to bank that gas for the Spire.
Yeah, and so this game, the Spire's going to finish before any big attack happens, so we might get to see you know, a game where Cham gets to do what he actually was planning on doing here. We've got some more Lings coming down here now. The Roaches are going to shoo this away. Solar's expansion a little bit later than Cham's is right now. The Spire's going to finish, and we already have almost 900 gas. So this is going to be a lot of mutas coming out here.
Yeah, Overseer is going to spot that Spire completed now. Spore Crawler is instantly getting queued up here for Solar,
now
one in each mineral line.
He starts up 16 Lings, and could I be wrong in that Spire is a red herring?
Oh, it might be.
I think he might.
But look, there's so much gas.
Yeah,
you know,
the gas doesn't lie. But yeah,
I think you're right.
So it's a fake out. Okay.
How interesting. Yeah, and he's mixing in Banelink speed. He's trying to maybe bait Solar into making a ton of Hydras, and then getting the Banelings to connect with them and do that bonus damage would be so cool.
I really like this from Cham. This is a very cool idea.
Great catch there, Tasteless. Yeah. I think he hit the nail on the head. Solar is probably going to be surprised by this composition moving across the map. 27 Banelings morphing in right now.
Yeah, so all the gas is going to go into Banes. The anti-air is going to be absolutely useless.
37 Banelings. Dude, he is going to max out with some insane army value. We do have only 8 Hydras done right now for Solar as he's getting caught in the middle of the map, and he's like, wait a second, you have what? Okay, he's a little bit fooled right now, and Cham's been coming in. There's a lot of Banelings about to roll in and support in this fight.
Okay, he's gonna come down now. He's hitting at this angle, and I don't know if actually Cham has quite enough. The Banes are wrapping around, and the damage is incredible.
Dude, those Banelings getting huge connections. There might not be many Hydras here for Solar, but the Banelings still got so much done here for Cham. Wow, what a cool play coming out from Cham, representing the Americas. You're taking that game off of Solar. I'm telling you, dude, he's crafty. He is so much fun to watch.
That was cool.
That was very cool.
I'm glad we caught that too, because like, you know, most of the time you look at the Spire, you go, yeah, Mutas, okay. But yeah, when we saw the Lings get queued up, you just don't have the right thing to deal with there. You're planning for an attack that's never going to come. I think once you see enough Ravagers, that should probably be the tell, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I think when you make Ravagers, you have to use them. Obviously, they're expensive. You got to put them out there, but. Great fake out there from Cham. So we're tied up 1-1 right now.
Yeah, and I feel like that build really plays well off of what he did in game number 1 too. Even though game 1 was a loss, it looked like really greedy Muta play. That's exactly what it looked like. And Cham, he did a better job of kind of keeping pace with Solar and not over-greeding too much there in game number 2. The drone counts, he was always just a little bit ahead, not really pushing it too much and not running too much of a risk because of that. And the fact that he went Spire and Solar scouted it, and Solar's thinking, okay, this is the game plan that failed in map 1.
Solar? Is that an Ewok bunny? What is that?
Oh yeah, what is that thing?
I was trying to figure this out the whole time.
There's one to the left of it too.
It does look like one of the baby Ewoks, but its face is shaved?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe it's got a little kind of Phantom of the Opera mask on.
Maybe it's got Phantom of the Opera Ewok.
Could be, man, but it's got bunny ears.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Well,
I kind of wish this was like a little bit higher resolution on like Solar's webcam. Although it is a nice webcam. I'm so curious about everything that he's got back there. There's just so many. You can tell he's a collector.
I can see. I can see it's just, what is that? That's like an infestor, a stuffed infestor in the top left.
Apparently, chat is calling this a Labubu. I have
Labubu?
no idea what that is. I feel very old right now.
That doesn't help me at all. Chat. A Labubu. Oh, my bad. It's a Labubu. Okay.
It's a Labubu tasteless.
Thanks, guys.
Don't you know about Labubus? You're here casting RSL. You don't even know about the Labubu meta.
That is a question that requires more than a one-word answer, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on into this game, it's Solar in the bottom right, Cham in the top left. And let's see what they got here. Both of these games, by the way, a little bit more macro-y than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I kind of thought we would have, you know, one base game or 2 base kind of all in, but instead it's just, yeah.
I was expecting more cheese. Now I'm thinking about what a Labubu is. Now, what is that? You know, on some of these maps, we have those little guys that also kind of look like Ewoks, and they're like usually like playing some drums or some music here in the StarCraft 2, the little doodads. You know what I'm talking about?
Wait, say that again?
Like on some of these maps, usually there's like a corner of the map where you just have a couple of little guys that kind of look like the Labubu that are like playing instruments.
Yeah.
Is that a Labubu? Is that what that is? I have no idea.
I think it's a reference to Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks. By the way, that party at the end of Return of the Jedi looked pretty fun. You know what I'm saying? I mean, imagine just partying with Ewoks. You're playing music on Stormtrooper helmets. That does
sound pretty cool, yeah.
That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow night after the cast.
Yeah, 4 days in a row of
yeah,
RSL.
4 days of casting. There's going to be a bit of an Ewok party.
Yeah, a little Labubu party. I'm going to have to go down the Labubu rabbit hole and figure out what these things are all about.
So, in this game, we have... Look at... Papa, you're so good. What's the name of the tournament? RSL. We got to see if there's going to be any kind of crazy deviations. So far, it's been very macro-y. And, yeah, I don't know. Are we going to have a third Spire in a row here? And in this game, will we see Mutalisks? We've been kind of, you know, we've been edging Mutalisks for a while. It's never actually happened, but...
It's certainly one way to phrase it, tasteless. Yeah, maybe Cham will finally get the Mutas out.
Yeah, we get right up to the tech and we don't make anything. I'm just saying.
The Spire starts jiggling a little bit too. He starts the upgrade cancels. Not yet. Not yet. We're gonna make
such a tease, man. So for now, it's gonna be just droning up. And yeah, I mean, I guess we're probably gonna have a third base made in a second here.
I'm really shocked at the way these EBZ have been playing out. Just the fact that we've had, especially with Solar of all people, 3 games that are relatively tame. in the early game just kind of feels out of place.
Yeah.
For this guy, but I guess it's where we're at. So far, Cham has been able to kind of use tricks to his advantage and also to his disadvantage, because it's certainly flopped in game number 1.
So we've got Baneling's nests on both sides, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an attack.
Yeah, I think we actually saw the same timing in game 2 and game 1.
The Baneling's nest can basically be used defensively. Like if you see that they're going to mass lings, you're like, okay, well, we'll distribute a few Banelings here and there and basically make it so that we can't be overwhelmed. Looks like we have this Ling being chased down for now. They did have differing positions for the third base. We've got a 9 o'clock base here for Cham, and as you call it, say kind of the triangle expansion here for Solar, the one that's a little bit closer to the main.
Yeah, and I mean, just watching the drone counts, really just very mirrored. We have a little bit of deviation in terms of the drone timings, in terms of the Ling timings, how many safety Banelings we're making on both sides, but there hasn't been too much room for aggression. Solar is making literally 1 Baneling right outside Cham's base and is probably looking for a nice trade. And there is a Roach Warren starting out behind this, but he is droning, so do not be fooled. This is not some kind of crazy timing attack. Although it might look like that to Cham. Although I say that, and he is catching a queen.
That's pretty crazy. I actually didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a move that's just designed. Like if Solar knows the third base timing so well, he's like, you're probably going to be transferring your queen right now. We have both been skipping tumors.
Yeah.
It's going to be slow. If I have 1 Baneling, I can confirm that kill.
We've got 8 Lings being made, going up to 12. I kind of thought he was going to save that for Roaches. Let's see. Is this going to be a fake out where he gets the Roach Warren, but actually just Ling Bane all in? Because the Roach Warren finishes. He does start. Okay, so he makes at least 1. And, I look at this and I say, Solar is going to attack.
He is going to be hitting. Feel that way. More Roaches getting queued up now here for Solar. And more Overlords in production, I feel like, really telegraphs the attack. When you're sitting at, what, 69 out of 82 and you're still starting Overlords right now, you want to make a lot of Roaches in a hurry. But Cham, right now, he is not over-droning. In game 1 and game 2, to a bit of a lesser extent, he was keeping pace of Solar a little bit more economically. And this time he's at 46 drones, which I think is totally reasonable against what Solar is doing. Solar with that initial swell of Roaches now going back into droning himself. And so there is capacity for some aggression, but this kind of reminds me of the move that Cham did in the previous map, where Solar right now is the one moving out with Roaches, with Lings and Banelings. Cham is seeing it and maybe getting a little bit spooked, while Solar goes for another round of drones. And things are just going to kind of quiet down again here.
Okay. We've got Roaches coming across the map now. Looks like he just wants to try to take out this Overlord. Anything that's a spotter that you can clear before the attack hits is going to be good. We don't have a 4th base yet here. Oh, I thought he was actually going to commit with that. Solar runs back. So there's no 4th base. There's no soft spot or like easy target, but it might not matter. He might just try to kind of battering ram his way into the 3rd base here. He's going to see the layers coming along, too.
This is where Cham starts to Spire and then cancels it as soon
right.
as the Ling leaves.
Yeah.
It feels like this has been a very mind-gamey ZVZ series. And Solar's made a huge number of drones, by the way, as our observer pointed out. I think it was like 11 in production at some time, and he's just queuing up even more. And he's doing this with the Roaches literally the doorstep of Cham. So both players, they're trying to kind of get inside the other one's head. And Cham, he is going to be firing up that Spire now.
Yeah, the Spire once again here for Cham. We'll see if he... I can't imagine he's going to do the same trick twice, right? From game 2, where he just doesn't get it. So there's the 4th base. Now that could be the desirable target here for Solar to hit. Solar, I don't know that he's going to actually attack out yet until this missile upgrade is done. It's about 50% complete, so it's got a little ways to go. Definitely enough time for the Spire to finish before the missile attack is done. And I mean, again, I'm assuming he's going to go for Mutalisks here, unless we have another crazy plot twist in the series. But, it's hard to make it work with Roach Ravager if Mutas are out, unless the player's so bad he can't dodge Corrosive Vials. There's like no way to attack out.
There's a little bit of deja vu right now. It's Solar spotting that Spire and starting the Hydralisk Den. Now, there's no centrifugal hooks for Cham yet, so we don't have Baneling speed, which makes me think this is actually going to be Mutalisk this time here. Spire is finishing up, and yeah, instantly 7 Mutas getting queued. And Solar is moving across the map with a ton of Roaches. I feel like there's some real potential to get this 4th hatchery canceled with this push. I mean, that is a massive army that Solar's got.
Yeah, this is going to be hard to stop. The mutas are going to be hatching here, but at the same time, I don't think there's enough on the ground to like deter these roaches. We see some more coming over here onto the side. And then +1 missile attack does finish. Now the attack is a little bit spread out, kind of discombobulated, but I just don't know that Cham, you know, he doesn't have enough roaches, but with the mutas out here, the damage is going to snowball. And, you know, the mutas can move as fast or faster than the roaches, so he can basically gun this down and distribute a lot of damage. You can see he's trying to target the weaker roaches to try to pick them off, and that's pretty painful. Kind of an anti-timing there from Solar.
Yeah, I actually expected Solar to get a little bit more done with that, but Cham just had some roaches that I guess were in a defensive position, either in the natural base or the 9 o'clock expansion, and he was able to get a really nice arc coming in, both from the ramp between the natural and the third, and having those roaches and just the hatchery absorbing some of the concave there of Solar. Very good engagement for Cham, and now he's adding in Banelings with Baneling speed. So yes, this is a Mutalist play, but this might have the same kind of explosive fighting potential that the composition in game number 2 did. We have Banelings morphing in. I think we're going up to maybe around 20 or so Banelings in total right now. We will have melee upgrades for them as well here for Cham. And because he had that faster 4th base and because he's had more drones, it's actually Cham with the larger army value here as we get closer and closer to a fight. Now Solar, he is going to try and kind of buy himself a little bit of space here by destroying those rocks. Mutalists are coming in. This is a tough angle for Cham to attack into, but also it's a little bit awkward for Solar to defend. It's kind of a choke point on both sides, as Solar is going to try and push this back. The Banelings are not here. In fact, we actually have a run by there in the natural expansion. Look at the minimap right now. 17 drones falling while this battle is taking place here on the front line. 27 drones falling in the natural and the main base of Solar right now that we do not have a camera shot of. So many workers going down. And Cham also held his own there on the front line. Solar's down to 41 workers, Tasteless.
Yeah, it's too bad that we missed that in the observing, but yeah, that's the story here, is that there's 27 drones that have been picked off. And so right now, Solar is really squeezed. Cham's going to continue to be able to grow. He might even be able to come in here with a killing blow. Mutas are particularly bad against Hydralisks, but you know, you never have to fight them. You can just try to find another location on the map to pick a fight, like over here.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to the fungals too. For Solar, having lost that many drones, he needs big fungals. He is able to get one with that infestor hatching from that base, but unfortunately the army is not to be found. More Banelings rolling in, 4 drones gonna fall, adding insult to injury. Solar now to 47 workers to the 72 of Cham. And I must say, Cham is playing a fantastic ZVZ right now. He's taking a 5th base. Solar is reset down to 3. Solar can't even fully saturate those 3 bases. And right now for Solar, you're basically hoping for a miracle. You want to catch all of these mutas with a fungal and clean them up, and even then, it still feels like it might be an uphill battle.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can kill the mutas and just never make mutas again, right? He can switch right into something else on the ground here. Cham looks like he's winding up for an attack. We have a couple roaches and banes over here on the side. The mutas are basically checking in. I think he's trying to figure out where is the weakest spot that he can hit into. But remember that, you know, right now, Solar's down to 3 bases, Cham's on 5. So, like, you know, Solar kind of, it's almost like it's his problem, right? Like, he's got to figure out how to get out of this. If Cham doesn't attack in, eventually I'm going to be surprised. But, you know, the truth is, it's a race of expanding and growing, right? Here comes that attack now.
All right, Cham coming in from basically every angle right now. Into the 3rd base, into the main army. The Banelings with huge connections. Solar, he is able to get the fungals on the muta, but there's basically nothing left to clean them up. And Cham, in what people might call an upset, plays a stunning ZVZ series. That's going to be a 2-1 win over Solar. Wow.
That was insane. That was very cool to see. Yeah, Solar came out with that attack, and it was like at the exact worst moment. Maybe waited a little bit too long. You know, whenever someone's getting a Spire, there's a little bit of time to do something, right?
Yeah.
Spire tech, it's DT tech, there's certain techs that just take a long time to kick in. But when the mutas were out, suddenly Solar was not able to grow on the map. It was pretty painful.
Yeah, and the way that Cham navigated the unit composition behind that, too, was just so cool. Sometimes you would see somebody just completely commit to the mutas, but he's like, you know what? I got enough mutas. They did their job. I can add a couple more in, but let's instead go for the Banelings because there is room to get damage done. It was so cool.
Guys, consider signing up for our Patreon. It's patreon.com/ReviveSC2. We don't know the future of StarCraft 2 right now, post EWC, post the Esports World Cup. But what we do know is that we want to keep the RSL going for as long as the scene wants there to be tournaments. We wanted to make something that was seasonal, that kind of felt like, you know, the old MSLs or OSLs or GSL back in the day when it was a longer tournament where you could tune in to an episode, kind of see the drama, see the games unfold, see the strategies happen, and then come back next week, you know, and I don't know, it's kind of like a Netflix season or something, right? Like for me, that's when I was a kid watching Star Leagues in my mom's attic in Kansas, you know, it was like a drama, right? It was like a series, and I got to tune in and see the games unfold, and eventually, you know, someone is a champion. Anyways, that's what we're trying to do now, so consider supporting us at our Patreon. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, it's going to be a ZVZ to see who's going to be the first survivor of Group C here in the RSL. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. We're going to be going into our winner's match. Cham looking really strong today. Very exciting to see him actually take down Solar. It's going to be against SHIN. I think normally I would say like SHIN should win this pretty easily, but Cham played so well that I don't know what to expect now. I don't know.
Cham feels really mind gamey with his ZVZ, and that can be a hard style to beat if he's on point and not being too greedy like he was in game number 1, because in game 2 and game 3 he looked so good versus Solar, and I think if I'm not mistaken that's like the second or the third series that he's won versus Solar relatively recently. So yeah, Cham is absolutely killing it. I came in today honestly just kind of expecting Harstem and Cham to put up a really good fight, but Solar and SHIN to advance. Cham might be first out of this group, Tasteless. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, you know, times change here. And yeah, Cham seems to have leveled up. He's got a very clean series. You know that SHIN was probably watching those games, and I mean I've said this before, but I got to bring it up when we have groups that are like this. Like you got to have a wide range of ZVZ, right? When you have a group that's this heavy in the mirror matchups. So I'm curious what the play is going to look like here versus SHIN. SHIN, of course, formerly known as Ragnarok.
One of the greatest IDs of all time, by the way.
I can't believe he got rid of that ID.
Ragnarok is just so rock and roll. Like, how do you?
Apparently, he changed it back to SHIN because his parents didn't know his ID.
Yeah, I've heard this. It's his family name.
I'm like, yeah, but just tell your parents your ID. Like, what? Why would you?
Ragnarok is too hard.
Everybody knows
you must represent the family.
This is like a thing with Korean pros. Like when I moved here and I was doing StarCraft 1 like a long time ago, like a million years ago, I had to explain to the production staff that like none of the foreigners know the players' Korean names.
Yeah.
They don't know. I'm like, this is like, you know, you think of it like a band, right?
Right.
You might know the lead singer of the band's name, but you're probably just going to know the band. And so, like when we were doing, like this is like back at GOM TV, I had to be like, I have to call them by their IDs because nobody knows their Korean names. They wanted me to call them by their Korean names.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
And I've had to explain to a lot of Korean pros, I'm like, everybody knows you by your moniker.
Yeah,
like
even
by your nickname.
Even for me, like unless I lived with them in a pro house years ago, I probably just know them by their IDs.
No, this is like one of my contributions to StarCraft. You can throw the game up, please. But this is like one of my contributions is I was like, no, we're gonna stick with player IDs. It's better branding. And you know, it's that's what people know them by. But yeah, we have occasionally with Korean pros, you'll see them change their name. That and Special. He used to be Major.
Yeah, and he was a couple other things too.
Yeah, he had changed his ID a couple times. It's just like imagine if I no longer went by Tasteless. If I went by Time Bones instead, something like that.
Well, that would be you. I was gonna say Tasteless is like an S tier name, but like Time Bones is S+.
That's right.
Like, I don't know how. Somehow it is still an upgrade from Tasteless, even though Tasteless is such a good ID.
No, but if I just like started calling myself, like no one would know. I don't know. I'm just always amazed when pro gamers change their ID.
IDs have always been fascinating to me. Like Nesty choosing his ID because he couldn't think of anything. There was just a Nesty bottle on his desk.
This is the thing. Is like because when StarCraft 1 was put on TV out here, they called the players by their names, right? And so your ID was just something you logged into BattleNet with.
Yeah.
Right. But then when and for whatever reason in Western culture, we always knew the player's ID. That was like, so what do they call him? This is so cool. What does he go by? Right.
How did you decide on Tasteless, by the way?
I found it in a dictionary. I was looking at words in a dictionary. Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah,
that's
I was
smart.
Like, that's a.
I wish I put that much thought into mine. My name fucking sucks. I had to choose like one of the most basic words of the English language. Like, yeah, that's great. Good luck looking that on any search engine ever.
How did Artosis get his ID? Was it like?
I think he likes Stella Artois and he's dyslexic or something.
Yeah. Whenever I see a beer Stella Artois, it's an Artosis in my head.
Yeah. No, I actually don't know. That is a good question.
From the Korn song Cameltosis.
Oh, really?
And then I think he had a character in some fantasy novel. Artosis sounds like a bone disease, but it's not bad.
It's like what they contracted that one episode of Futurama.
Artosis, it sounds like the doctor gets a clipboard out and says, you have artosis, and you go, well, am I going to live or am I going to die? And they're like, it's not fatal, but your bones are going to hurt for the rest of your life. So, anyways, in this game, ZVZ, let's watch the production tabs. Let's see who's going to be the first to deviate It's a third base for Cham.
Yeah, and it looks like Shin is he's getting ready to take a third base of his own. But I was kind of expecting Shin to be a little bit more aggressive here, at least in the early stages versus Cham, because it felt like Solar didn't really test that too much versus the openings that Cham was doing. Oftentimes when you see Korean players, when they go against a non-Korean in situations like this one, if the non-Korean showcases really good macro, and of course, Cham, he's been around the block. Like he's played in tournaments before. I'm sure this is not the first time that him and Shin are meeting, but usually you would expect them to try and mix things up from one series to the next, even if it's a different player. Like, okay, well, Solar tried these like macro plays versus you. You're pretty crafty. Let's see how you deal with X, Y, and Z, like all-ins or timing attacks, right? But as it is, we actually have both players macroing up fairly normally here in game number 1.
So, yeah, the Baneling's nests are finishing. We have Ling Speed about to wrap up here for both sides as well. And the droning's going to continue on here. Nobody's done any kind of crazy ZVC builds today.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I kind of wanted one or two all-ins.
Yeah, come on. I want some explosions, man.
So he's going to drive this out. 8 more drones about to hatch here for Cham. And I'm sorry, I might have missed this, but did Cham ever get an Evo chamber?
I don't think so. He's been going for...
He's been opting for a layer already.
Yeah, he's opting for considerably later Evo chambers in basically every single game thus far. Baneling, are you actually gonna... Yeah, I guess he will trade that out for 2 Lings. And Roach Warren's going down on both sides. Still, these builds very mirrored. I would say the biggest deviation thus far is that Cham has a faster third base, but slower upgrade coming in from the Evolution Chamber. And Shin is finally now going into a couple additional gas geysers, so we do have some changes coming in, but it's nothing like a big swing in terms of one player opting for something that's really tech-based or one player that's going for a timing attack. These are just kind of them fine-tuning the machines of their builds slightly differently here, but it's kind of the same setup.
Well, it's melee attack here for Cham, where it's missile attack for Shin. So, you know, we've got a pretty pronounced deviation here as far as tech. Unsurprisingly, Cham once again going to go for the Spire. Now, I don't think this would be a bluff either, but you know, I've ever since he did that in game 2 of the previous series, it's kind of in the back of my head now.
It very well could be. And one of the things about Cham, at least, is someone who is I'm mostly aware from Cham from playing against him on the ladder. And in ZVP, he loves to go with Ling-heavy compositions. He will make more Lings than basically anybody. Kind of reminds me of like Lo Sira as a throwback, another user who really liked to lean into Ling-heavy compositions. Cham's kind of doing that a little bit here too in these ZVZ games, opting for mutas, opting for way more Ling Bane, and it has been paying off quite well. As it is right now, he's adding in a couple of Roaches. There is a considerable gas bank here for Cham. And on that Baneling Nest, we just have to keep our eyes on whether or not he's going to start Baneling Speed, because I think if this is a bluff, Baneling Speed is going to get queued up very quickly here. If there's no Baneling Speed, it's almost definitely going to be an initial swell of at least 7 or 8 mutas.
Okay, the den's about to finish up here. And, you know, it's obviously with mutas, it's never about so much like trying to win a fight with them as it is that, you know, the mutas don't have to respect whatever you have. They can just roam somewhere else and try to get damage that way. When the mutas hatch, by the way, that's usually when we get the Overlord clear. So, you know, the guy that has all the spotter Overlords on the map, in this case it's Shin, you know, suddenly the map becomes a lot more of a, you know, confusing place. You're no longer able to basically be prompted whenever they're leaving or changing their position.
Yeah, now one of the interesting things here for Shin is that it seems like he was basically anticipating this Spire play from Cham, because it felt like in the previous series we were seeing Solar kind of build the Hydras reactively to the mutas, whereas Shin was already starting to pump Hydras out right when that Spire was finishing. And so he's going to have a fair number of them quite early on here. Now the Overlord clear is taking place just as Tasteless foresaw moments ago. Cham is going to be able to clear up all the Overlords here on the bottom side of the map. But Shin, he has a pretty powerful army. He's sitting only on 67 drones. Cham has gone all the way up to 80 plus workers on his side of the map. And Baneling Speed is finishing here for Cham. I think this next fight, if Shin decides to go for a push with the Roach Hydra mass he's assembling, a lot of it is going to come down to whether or not Cham can get those Baneling connections on the Hydras.
Okay, so he takes out that Overlord, continuing to clear over here. Shin is headed southbound with a couple of units here. The question is going to be, you know, how ready is Cham for that right now?
And 65 drones for SHIN just seems to be the magic number as he is getting ready to knock on the front door and starting to move closer and closer to the junction between the natural and the third. These mutas gonna get caught. One of them will fall to the Hydras. Only 7 Banelings on the field right now. Hydra speed about to be done. Baneling speed, I'm pretty sure is already finished here. So yeah, it is. Those Banelings will get the connections on the Hydras that they need. Still no Hydra speed. Only a couple of Hydras going down on the front line. The mutas, they are able to isolate though. There in the top right, a couple of the Hydras. We have more mutas than Hydras actually. It seems like Cham might be able to defend here with just the mutas. On the ground, SHIN, he is still standing a little bit strong with these roaches. He has the superior numbers, but eventually the Hydras are going to clean this up. I will say this is a resounding victory here for Cham on his side of the map.
You know, it's the Hydras, it's kind of like Marines when they get hit with Banelings, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's if you can just get those Banes to connect, the Hydras are extremely squishy, kind of glass cannon units, and so that's a big win for Cham. I mean, this is right now a 3-base SHIN with a 4th base that's being made. We could see the mutas flying up here. This base is going to be taken out. Unless SHIN can do something about it. But Cham's already going up to 5 bases. I mean, he's in incredible shape right now.
Yeah, Cham just macroing up a storm on his side of the map. SHIN, because he has those Hydras by the 3rd base, is actually able to defend it. But, you know, Persephone is kind of a scary map here as the player who's not working with mutas because, as we saw, those mutas, when they move through the speed zones on the east side of the map, they are so quick to go cross map.
It's pretty insane.
And hit that top right base. It is... Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And for Cham right now, he's actually adding in more mutas. I'm not sure if there's like a magic number that he's trying to get or when he's going to start going into Banelings instead, because he's already at 20. That is a very healthy number of mutas, and it's also a little bit dangerous because should SHIN be able to get some kind of miracle fungal off, say with like a Brood Infester, if these mutas fall, SHIN is way back in this game. Right now, Cham certainly has the edge, especially after sniping that hatch. And now the mutas are able to work their way here into the main base. There is an Infester about to pop. Will be able to get the fungal it needs. Nope. Not able to connect there. No fungal being used. And now it's Cham who's going to be trying to come in for the aggression on the 3rd base of SHIN.
Oh my god. SHIN's going to have to come back here and try to defend this. The Banes are going to go right into where the drones are, and it's wiping out a lot of those workers.
Yeah, the mutas keeping a lot of the army at bay in the main base of SHIN, and in total we have 33 drones going down. The entire main base mineral line is wiped. The entire 3rd base mineral line is wiped, and now SHIN, he's basically all in. He does have the higher army supply, but it's not going to get better, and Cham is warping in 36 Banelings tasteless. We're going to have an insane number of Banes against a mostly Hydra army. There's 34 Hydras, only a little bit more than a dozen roaches.
Yeah, this is looking pretty hopeless. I mean, I guess you might as well go through with it, right? He's going to move across the map, headed southbound now, but he's going to have to brace for impact here. These Lings are going to come at such a good angle. The Hydras can't run away in time. Oh, nice fungals. That was actually pretty wild.
Yeah, the fungal on the Banelings and on the mutas was so clutch there for SHIN, but Cham is just too big, too strong. GG, game number 1 going to Cham here in this winner's match. And he is 1 map win away from advancing in 1st place out of Group C.
Cham's looking really good. This is pretty sick, actually.
Yeah, man, I'm getting hyped watching this.
It's always kind of funny because, like, StarCraft 2's been out for like 15 years now, right? You get used to players being at like a certain skill level. I'm sure people that just are avid watchers of StarCraft 2 kind of get this, that when you see somebody level up, it's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Like, in my head, and no disrespect to Cham, I just thought, okay, like, you know, with the other 2 Zergs we have here, and of course these are the Zergs I'm used to casting all the time, right? I just kind of thought they had the upper hand, but Cham has like really leveled this up. I would not be shocked if he goes 2-0 here and just moves on out first.
His macro just seems so good. I almost feel like SHIN kind of has to go for some kind of aggressive play in this game number 2 because Cham has won almost every single macro game. The only game that he lost was when he was absurdly greedy in game 1 versus Solar.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's like, he seems to get all of his tech later than his opponent, and like I said before, that's not good or bad, but it is interesting. He just drones a little bit harder. He seems to have, he certainly doesn't seem to be interested in any of the game right away. Doesn't mean we won't see that in maybe this game too here, but you know, he does seem to be basically pretty good at kind of developing and then getting into a very strong position in the late game there. Like those mutas, he knew exactly how to use them. He knew exactly how to hit that 4th base so that could never get up. And obviously the follow-up tech about just having enough Banes. You know, you're kind of forcing them into making Hydras because that That's the only thing that can really fight Mutalisks, right? And even forcing them to get infestors, but then you just disengage. You're on your 5 bases, you're so ahead, and then all you have to do is, you know, you get the counter to that, which is the Banelings. You know, you kind of force them to tech into a corner, so to speak. Anyways, guys, we're going to go into Game 2 here in this best of 3. Remember that the winner of this series survives Group C in the RSL.
Cham spawning down in the bottom left here as the red Zerg, SHIN the blue Zerg in the top right.
So, you know, let's see if we got anything crazy going on here. It's been actually a day of kind of macro timed attack CVZs, a little bit slower.
But as far as macro games go, they have been ending so quick, actually. Like, you basically see one player max, and usually it's Cham, just because he's been a little bit more greedy than his opponents. And a minute or two after he's maxed, the game is generally over. We're not really getting the macro back and forth. It's kind of like Cham just keeps leveling up and getting bigger and better, and then it reaches this breaking point where he is ready to just dominate the map. It is so cool to see. As somebody who was playing against Cham many years ago, to see how much hard work he has put in.
Yeah, it's paid off, you know.
Like, he has grown into such a strong player. It's just so exciting.
So we have the extractor coming down here for SHIN, and it's going to be just a little bit later here for Cham. And yeah, Cham just showing a lot of competency, you know, in late game here. Yeah, I don't know. I have nothing else to say. I'm waiting for these builds to start. This is CVZ.
It's hard when you get like so many games in a row of basically mirrored builds into like 3 bases, because
mirror matchup with mirror builds at the start.
Yeah, you kind of run through all the things to talk about.
I'm like, well, SHIN is blue, but Cham is red. They're like, what do I say?
It is the biggest difference in this game right now. Yeah.
By the way, guys, do us a favor. Follow our socials for RSL. We've got X account. We've got Instagram. We have TikTok if you're a Zoomer. We've got,
do we actually have a TikTok? That's so cool.
We do have a TikTok.
We're so hip.
Guys, Instagram, you're probably just looking at girls' butts on there. Get your life together and follow the RSL account. You pervert, all right? Use your Instagram for something good. Finally, the Twitter account, you know, I feel like a lot of gaming is just sort of on Twitter when it comes to like social media, so I'm confident. I think our Twitter's at 1,000 now.
I think we just might have hit that today.
Do we have a Facebook account, production? We don't have... What? Not yet? Not yet? Okay,
Not
well, listen,
yet.
tell Grandma, tell your boomer parents that we're going to be on Facebook too, okay? Thank you. Thank you. Follow our socials. All right, we're back in this game. Has anything changed yet?
No, not really. Keep going,
good.
Tasteless.
All right, well, just saying, guys. They told you social media is bad for you. It is, but you still need to follow our accounts, okay? I don't want to hear any complaining about it.
Yeah, open your phone, set that timer to 15 minutes on X, on Instagram.
Get on X, follow the Revive SC2 account, start doom scrolling.
When you hit those 15 minutes, make sure you don't go down and say, remind me again in 15 more minutes. Don't keep doing that. Just keep it at 15 minutes, but make sure you spend at least 10 of those minutes on RSL.
That's right. So we have lings being made here. 16 are hatching here for SHIN. SHIN's going to try to come in here for an attack, but this is actually funny. I think they're both literally trying to do the same timing attack to each other.
Even when we get the builds that shouldn't be mirrored, they're still mirrored somehow.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's going to be who's going to attack first. Whoever attacks into each other should be at a disadvantage. That's going to be SHIN here, because if you have the same number of units and you're closer to the starting point of everything, then you should be able to hold this. So he's going to send these lings up here. These Banes, one is going to be terminated before it can actually finish up here.
Yeah, 2 more Banelings are going to finish. For Cham, he just really wants to keep this third base alive right now. He does have 2 more drones, so he's getting at least a little bit more eco. And both players seeing this are going to start a big round of drones back at home. Oh, be careful there, SHIN. Very close to destruction, as there's also Baneling finishing up right now for the Blue Zerg. Finally barely goes down before it's done. This Baneling also on basically 1 HP. He's actually getting a pretty good hit off right there on Cham's lings. Not a lot of lings to support these Banes right now, Tasteless.
Yeah, for now, it doesn't seem like SHIN's able to really get that much done. The hatchery's at about half health. We have 2 Banes coming over here, and it looks like neither is going to be... Oh, hold on. You know, if you can at least bruise those drones, you might be able to get in there later on and get something done.
Yeah, Cham just had another big swell of Zerglings finish up, so maybe he will be looking to get the confirmation on those 4 kills in the natural expansion there for SHIN. As it is right now, both players, they're kind of transitioning a little bit. Cham is going for another Baneling attack, 2 more of them getting sent into the natural expansion of SHIN in just a moment. SHIN probably just going to trade these out, even getting some Lings too. That is nice, even though one of those Banelings survives. And I have to say, the way this is shaken out, I kind of like SHIN's position a little bit more. Cham did have the advantage from the initial defense just because he was the defender, but it felt like SHIN started the transition back into droning a touch faster than Cham did. And now it's Cham who's kind of a tempo behind in terms of eco.
Yeah, he's gonna, oh, he actually manages to save that Baneling, nice. Looks like Ling's, well, I don't know that he can get away with this Baneling. Beautifully done, beautifully done. That's the kind of connection you want to have. It's 5 roaches being made here. We are in the roach tech now. Layer starting here for SHIN. Evo chamber being dropped, kind of in a weird spot, but it's right there in the middle. And the game's going to go on. I mean, right now, as far as drones go, SHIN is a little bit further ahead. He's got some more workers. I think Cham tried to, with kind of counterplay, get something done, and frankly, I don't think it panned out very well.
Yeah, and as it is now, SHIN, he is at a higher drone count, but probably not for long because he is really starting to pump the gas right now on the roach production. It has been nonstop roaches for a while here for SHIN, and he is going up to a lair. I wonder if he's even going to wait for roach speed to finish. It feels like he's just going to go with these roaches right now, Tasteless. There are so many that have been in production. He's about to have this massive army. On Cham's side of things, he does have a couple more drones. He's been able to close the distance. He now has 5 more workers than his opponent, so more income. He's also getting the lair and taking additional gas geysers. But it feels like he basically recognizes what is going on. He has made a ton of roaches himself, and so if both players just kind of keep pumping the gas right now in the roach production, I really don't know where this is going to go. I feel like Cham should be able to hold on, but SHIN definitely with a more impressive army right now.
Okay, he's going to be moving down now. And, I mean, this is going to... Is Cham going to be ready for this?
He has cut workers for, you know, the past minute or so, so he's bracing for impact, but this is a lot, Tasteless.
He's got 30 Lings that are going to be inbound here that are going to be soaking damage, but he doesn't have Lings up here yet, so this attack does not look that good here for SHIN. The angle's bad. The Lings were not in the front, so the roaches got thinned out.
Yeah, the concave fantastic for SHIN too. These Biles also not getting the biggest connections. A couple of good hits there in the natural, but the concave really doing Cham some favors.
Yeah, no, Cham I think is just going to crush this. And, you know, the Lings are going to come through here, but I feel like the roach amount kind of thinned out to the point where it can't really do that much.
Yeah, it almost felt like SHIN might have needed to wait just 10 more seconds for the Lings to flood in.
And maybe it's something I'm not understanding, but the way I always saw these attacks go is you have a roach ball, and then you have this like parade of Lings that is, it kind of never ends. They just are always in the front, kind of getting killed off, and then the roaches, you know, they start to snowball the fight, and eventually you kind of push through and get to some important location like an expansion with drones, or maybe they're tacked like the wall in at their second base. But yeah, that just didn't look very good. Now that being said, it doesn't mean like SHIN's out of the game. And if it isn't Cham's Spire back again.
Yeah, that's the recurring character here in the ZVZ.
Sometimes I think of certain players as like units in the game, but when I think of Cham, I really think of him more as a building.
He's a spire.
Yeah, he's a spire. So, Cham's still on 3 bases.
And drone count's mostly equal here, and for SHIN, for some reason, I thought that he had a lair before he went for that timing attack. I wonder if he started it and then canceled it, but in any case, the lair actually just finished up for the Blue Zerg player, so he is now finally getting roach speed. And he's still sitting at 53 drones. He did drone up a touch after that attack failed, but he's going right back into Roachling production. A lot more Overlords being queued up right now, but with Cham having basically an equivalent army on the ground right now and that Spire about to be done, while taking this 4th base, the onus is kind of going to be on SHIN to really deal some game-defining damage on Cham's side of the map. He's got to have a much more successful attack than the last one is, because 7 mutas just getting started, that's going to put a timer on everything here for SHIN.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, this attack's going to come out here, and I mean, I think it's going to be held. Oh, whoa.
Oh, he cancels it. I think he realizes the
Yeah.
situation. He's like, you know what? I just need all the money available to defend right now.
I initially looked at that and I thought, oh, that's not good. But actually, I kind of like it now.
Yeah,
He's
I
like,
think
oh,
it's
no, wait, I
smart.
just have to, like, survive this. I'm going to have Mutas out here. What's up? Cham Mutas.
Cham Mutas focusing
I dare
down
you to
the
try to
Ravagers.
corrosive bile them. He's too fast for you.
This Concave's looking pretty good for Cham again. That bile not going to connect was a big one. And even Cham here on the reinforcements, able to catch them quite well. The Mutas focus firing down the Ravagers too. Now they are doing some work on these Roaches. Overall, it's looking a little bit better for Cham. SHIN, he is gaining some ground with this second wave of reinforcements coming in, but with 9 more Roaches about to pop and Cham's forces all kind of converging here. And those Mutas putting so much work. They shine in a moment like this one where there's a long, protracted fight of basically equal ground armies. The Mutas just targeting the Ravagers in the back get so much done.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the pain really kicks in when they when he's trying to run. GG. Wham,
Wow.
bam, thank you, ma'am. Wham, Cham. Bam.
Wham, Cham,
I
bam,
suck.
thank you, ma'am. Cham is the first player to advance from Group C with a big blam.
Yeah, thank you. That
Dr.
was-
Seuss here. This is
yes.
terrible.
This is
We're
rough.
cutting this out of the VOD, boys.
This is rough. Yeah, we'll fix that in post. So, I mean, that's really exciting. I am very pleasantly surprised by how well Cham is playing. SHIN is not eliminated yet. He'll be in the final match of the day here. Cham looks great.
Cham
looks
kinda
really good.
Stunning me, man. I
Yeah.
knew coming into this one, doing my research on Cham, I'm like, wow, this guy is actually playing some really good ZVZ games.
Yeah.
I always had him on the radar as somebody that just incrementally keeps getting better. But the fact that he took down SHIN and Solar in basically macro games, even navigating some of these early timing attacks that they try to throw at him, that is really impressive. I am so excited to have him in the top 8.
We are going to remind you guys about our merchandise. If you're a Patreon supporter, by the way, it's 20% off. Not just for the RSL hoodies, mugs, and t-shirts, and pins, but also for all the cool stuff that's in my shop. So consider going down there and checking that out. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Cham after that series is like, yeah. Thank you guys for the games. By the way, give me more ZVZ, please. Thank you. Feels
Did he say
really
that's so
confident in the matchup right now. Yeah, that is real funny. We'll see if he gets lucky when we have the draws there for the postseason bracket.
We are going to go to a short break. When we come back, it'll be our losers match. We'll see you in a minute. Thank you for waiting, everybody. We're back, and we're ready to go into our losers match here. Solar versus Harstem. Cham kind of ran away with the show here. An incredible performance. This, I think, is going to be really tough for Harstem to pull off. Solar is still in incredible shape. Yeah, but I mean, let's see.
Yeah, it felt like Harstem was playing around with some really cool ideas in his first series versus SHIN that just weren't really able to get off the ground because SHIN was kind of throwing some curveballs at him in terms of the aggression. And so I'm hoping that we get to see a little bit more of what he has planned for us here in this best of 3 series. But Solar is another one of those Zergs that is just so aggressive and so good at getting value out of their units early, at putting pressure on their opponents early, that I'm not sure if we're going to get there. You know, Harstem, it seemed like in those 2 games versus SHIN, it was a little bit greedy in terms of opening, with the really fast tech ups, with a 1-gate expansion into the 3rd, with the low number of gateway units, and SHIN was able to punish it. So interesting to me is going to be whether or not Harstem dials it back into something a little bit more conservative here versus Solar, or if he's just going to try and make some very tiny adjustments to be able to navigate into the mid game.
Okay. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what kind of PvZ we're going to have here. Harstem wanted to play a much more like development-oriented macro PvZ and was basically shut down. Was unable to get anything, going on that, and it was like the Archon drops weren't working. We saw, him try to get his four bases up, I think, at a second robo and try to develop there. That was shut down. I don't know that Solar's going to be that different either in that regard.
Yeah, it feels like, generally speaking, in ZVP, Ragnarok is usually a little bit more aggro in the early and the mid game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Solar is, again, one of these guys who is just capable of any kind of aggression. He is such a scary Zerg. And guys, I think our game is loading up. We're getting ready to go into map number 1 of this series. Harstem versus Solar. Solar spawning as the red Zerg in the bottom left. Harstem, the blue Protoss, in the top right. One of these guys out of the RSL. The other one is going to advance into the final match versus SHIN.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, Harstem, will he go for that development style, or is he going to try to do something more in the vein of a timing attack or some kind of weird window attack where he's going to be able to get in there and kind of shut the Zerg down?
Yeah, I really want to see more of the ideas that he was playing with in that initial series versus SHIN. We were talking about this on the break, but I was just kind of sad that, especially that game number 2, where the Lings got into the main base and the natural expansion, and not only did they slow Harstem down, but they also kind of spoiled the element of surprise. When he went for the Templar Archives Archon drop, I thought that was so cool. For a long time, when Neeb was doing Archon drops years and years ago, it was on the back of a Dark Shrine, and it was very effective. But given the current iteration of StarCraft 2, the way the meta is, the way that we now have energy recharge available for those Templar, I think adding in a build where you get those Stormers really quickly, get 2 Archons, have them go cross-map, and you're just gathering energy back at home, assembling an army of Immortals, just a really formidable force. I think that has a lot of potential, and it's something that, at least in Korean StarCraft 2, we haven't really seen players mess around with at the GSL level. I really want to see that idea, properly showcased, at least in one of these maps here versus Solar.
Well, this game, Solar is just continuing to macro up. We've got Harstem's probe moving out across the map. And yeah, let's see. It's probably going to be something like a Stargate thrown down here, maybe into that Oracle play, into the 3rd base, unless we have some kind of surprises,
Yeah, I'm thinking it'll probably be very similar early game development here for Harstem, and we'll see if he decides to deviate and kind of tread his own path once that 3rd base is getting set up. On Solar side of things, we have nothing really too crazy going on just yet. Circling speed is starting exactly when you would expect it to, right around 210. Only a very small number of links to shoo away this probe, make sure that 3rd base gets up nice and safely. And for Harstem, once more, it is going to be the Stargate. So just a very standard opening here in ZVZ, or PvZ, excuse me.
Yeah,
I'm still in Cham
ZVZ mode.
I'm still in Cham mode.
I'm like, well, what I'm wondering, State, is Cham going to get that Spire again? So yeah, I mean, in this game we've got Stalker coming out here, and the probe is already ready to set up this base over here on the side. No Lings to try to come in there and snipe him.
Depp just going to be kind of scouting here in the main base.
Gotta be careful. That pylon's out there super early. You know, if there are lings, you can just run out there and kill that. You know, this is like before the oracle's even in the game.
Yeah, but ling speed usually done. I'm pretty sure confirmed with the extractor that it's going to be finishing at 330. So Harstem knows that he can most likely get away with this. God, it's been a long time since I did the math, but I think it's like if you see the extractor, it's either 2 minutes or 2:20 after that's done is when ling speed could be finished. I don't remember this stuff exactly, but somebody of Harstem caliber is going to be able to scout the base and be like, you know what, I actually can build that pylon this early. I can be that safe. And those are the kind of information that you need to know to be able to execute these kind of builds, because this is a 1-gate third base. I think it really is just the Adept and the Stalker.
I think I need to adjust your mic here.
Oh, is it a little bit
it's
off?
a little bit above your yeah. Try talking now.
Is that better?
I think it's a little bit better. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to what you said. I was just looking at you and being like, oh, his mic's not quite over.
No, we're good. Harstem, he's taking his third base right now. Twilight Council is coming in.
Ooh.
A nice catch. Solar trying to go for the same play that SHIN really did there in the previous series, get the lings inside.
You saw the lings right up there, and then like for a second it's like, does that block? Because I thought the same thing. I'm like, wait, can you actually still fit through there? But he gets chased out. We've got the 3 gateways coming down here now, with Blink being upgraded.
Yeah, so, and it's interesting watching Harstem develop in this way, because he's going for the 1-gate third base, very few gateway units, and he's going for a very fast blink. And even kind of stuttering the Oracle production to get this done. Oftentimes you'll see a player like Hero just churn out those 3 Oracles as quickly as possible, and then they'll add in the Twilight Council and the Forge at the same time, but slightly later. As it is, Harstem really trying to get very fast 4-gate blink with these Oracles.
So the Oracle can just chase down any lings, zap them, take them out very, very quickly here. Over at the 6 o'clock position here, we actually have Solar taking a base. He's going to be continuing to expand up here. Now, Harstem, last game, because this game looks a lot like game 1 that we casted from him at the start of the day here, he was able to take a 4th base, but then it was a Zerk that really kind of got in his face. I kind of imagined that the game was going to end up more of one of, you know, is the Zerk going to be able to hold this off, you know? But instead it was kind of the exact opposite. So we'll see this time around if it's going to be Harstem taking a 4th base, continuing to develop, and then going into late game trying to win with a sophisticated army and a push.
I think first he's going to do your favorite tactic, Tasteless. He's going to come out with these Stalkers, with these Oracles, and try and get some damage done. And behind it, he is still going into the Forge and Twilight, so he's putting together all the building blocks of the standard PvZ play in terms of macro, but he's getting there with a little bit more aggressive potential with this 4-gate blink. Now, this is going to hit harder and faster than Blink Stalkers normally would in this matchup. Let's see how Solar is going to deal with it. As it is right now, this 4th hatchery under fire. Stasis traps getting thrown down here. Solar, he's trying to muster up some more forces. They're on that production tab. Does a good job defusing that one stasis trap, but these Stalkers already trading really well. 1 queen gonna fall, a Roach already going down. Some very good damage being done right now by our Protoss.
Yeah, he's starting to blink away. The Stalkers are getting a little bit squishy. Did not have the Oracles in here with this, kind of kept them back.
Yeah, a little bit surprising actually with only 1 queen, because those 2 Oracles could take that queen down in a hurry if they decided to join in.
I wonder if that was just a mistake or he was too preoccupied doing anything. He's going to throw more gateways down here. He kind of had to stop the harass for a little bit. Now the Oracles are going to come in, but the queen is gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of spinning plates right now as Protoss, because they're trying to take those additional geysers. You're getting Storm, you're getting Charge, you need to build extra infrastructure back at home, and at the same time, you also have to micro those Stalkers, so very understandable situation right there for Harstem, and he kind of got his damage done, you know? He slowed down. The droning here of Solar is, are we actually going to have these queens go into the Overlord? Is he going to go for
I think he's going to go for a
Really?
Yeah, he's going to do a huge counterattack here.
mean,
now, Harstem's not on 4 bases.
Yeah, but this is going to hit before Storm. Oh, I think it just got sniped, actually. Harstem with a great catch. All those queens now going down. Solar only has 3 queens left. He's sitting at 64 drones, and the queens are the linchpin of this attack. Not because they're especially powerful, but because they're the only units here that shoot up. They're the only ones that can keep these Oracles from just zapping away at all the Ravagers. So beautiful move there from Harstem. If that attack from Solar had went cross-map, I feel like it actually would have been very dangerous, because with the build Harstem did, he's getting +1 ground weapons and he's getting Storm a little bit later than you would normally, which means you don't have quite as much damage available to kind of try and parry this attack, but that blink just really slowing down Solar. He's going to have to go to plan B. He's starting a Hive. He's transitioning into Hydralisks. Excellent move from the Dutch Protoss.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking very, very good. That was the play that he needed. It should be a bumpy ride from here on out for Solar. The Oracles are going to try to come in. He just tags the army instead. You know, and are we going to have Harstem take a 4th base coming up here? He's getting the 2nd Robo out now. Continuing to get upgrades over there.
Yeah, these Oracles causing a lot of trouble. Hydras are in production here for Solar. +2 ranged weapons and Hydra range all being researched right now. That Hive is halfway done. 4th base finally coming in for Harstem. And I'm curious whether Harstem's actually going to start to go for an attack here, because it feels like all the building blocks are there. You know that Solar was already on a pretty low drone count because he wanted to go for that attack. And really only right now is Solar back at the drone count that he ideally would have been having there on those 4 bases. And it feels like this attack coming in from Harstem is just designed to hit before those high-tech lurkers come in. The first storm, very good right there, getting a ton of damage. These Roaches and Hydras, especially on the right side, a lot more flimsy after that attack. But this is a tough choke point to move into. And Harstem, he's recognizing this. He's starting to prepare for more of a late game. He's going into the Fleet Beacon, taking additional geysers, adding in a 2nd Forge to get either armor or shields while going for these Zealot counterattacks. So it seems like we are going to be going into more of a late game PvZ.
Yeah, I just don't think he can get up here. You were mentioning his position earlier. It's just like a really hard angle to try to push up. He's going to have to blink back. And, you know, if he can't get anything done here, this Lurker Tech is just going to finish, right? Keep in mind, too, Solar, it's kind of a bit of a yin and yang here. He's got all this pressure hitting him here. So he's just going to grow into a completely different part of the map where this army's not. Because Protoss can't really split their army up and hit a whole bunch of different locations at once, at least not with this kind of composition. This is kind of a big death ball that you're trying to roam around the map with.
Harstem is playing a beautiful game right now. Our observer Mopper just pointed out the units lost massively in Harstem's favor. He threw away a couple of Zealots going for a counterattack. Oh, 1 Stalker, 2 Stalkers do go down here on the front line. Gotta be very careful of those Lurkers even before Seismic Spines is done. But, oh, even the Zealots getting a full surround on the Roaches. Don't see that every day. Harstem just being so cost efficient. And if this game goes to something like a split map scenario, that's going to help him a lot because the Tempests are coming out, the Mothership is starting, we're going into shields instead of armor. Ooh, even blinking forward before Seismic Spines is done. Trying to get maximum value with these Stalkers. Now, of course, with range finished, a little bit more of a scary task, scary prospect trying to blink in there.
Yeah, the Zealots, Roach is trying to kite them. There's just barely not enough, so he's going to have to run away and try to figure something else out with him. We've got the Mothership on the way here. We've got a Spire as well, about to finish up here for Solar. And I got to say, oh man, losing both of those.
He does still have an observer, so not all the detection has been written off right now, but obviously losing those Oracles very painful. He's immediately going to restart a new one back at home. And Solar, he basically just wants to get on top of this 4th base as quickly as possible. He's even willing to take a couple of storm shots to do it. This is a very strong ground army here for Zerg. Those Hydras even dashing forward, trying to take down one of the Tempests. Harstem does micro it back. The anti-air for Zerg is starting to thin out though, Tasteless.
Yeah, a storm comes and hits. He's going to try to back up again. He wants to try to shimmy these Lurkers a little bit further up there. You know, the truth is you can kind of go where the army isn't, right? The Tempests, though, are causing enough of a problem. You know, the Lurkers can't really bury themselves outside of the base and do any kind of pushing. And so Solar's going to completely abandon this. Now, he's continuing to grow on the map, but you know, even though we're seeing Harstem in this case survive this, I'm worried he's not going to be able to get a whole lot done anywhere else, right? He seems pretty far away from pushing and hitting anywhere.
I feel like pushing is probably the furthest thing from his mind right now. You have Solar, who has this gigantic ball of Lurkers that is trying to basically use them as a battering ram on either the triangle base or the 4th base here of Harstem. Even on the minimap right now, you can see he's moving in again on top of this ramp. He wants to siege down an expansion and slow down the Protoss so that he can take an edge in the late game, and he's going to be moving in once again, this time with a ton of Corruptors, instantly focus firing down one of those Tempests. We do have Cloaking Field coming in for the Mothership, but with 2 Overseers, the units are still revealed. Mothership taking a ton of damage. These Templar low on energy, only 1 storm available, but the big flank coming in from Harstem is enough to clean up the ground army. Yes, the Tempest will fall, but Harstem wins the battle on the ground, and now Solar has a ton of Corruptors and basically no ground forces.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible by Harstem. The Corruptors, I don't know if they're going to even be able to find a target here. In fact, they're just running right by this Tempest. I think he had that right click. He's going to see that that's over there now. There's too many cannons covering this. And Harstem has a counterattack. It's over here at 6 o'clock. Is this going to be enough? I see lurker eggs coming in here. I don't see anything here to defend, really.
Yeah, without lurkers, the defense is going to be so hard here for Solar to make happen. Harstem moving just fast enough to be able to break in. Lings coming in. They are connecting there on the Archon. Archon plus the Storm cleaning up a ton of those Lings. The Hydras and the Queens, it looks like might be enough for Solar to stabilize, especially with these lurkers finally finishing up. But this fourth base is still under siege. A lot more workers are going down. I still like this trade a lot for Harstem moving in like this. I mean, look at the bank right now. It's 3K in terms of gas and minerals for Harstem. He's got a double forges pumping. Actually, the Corruptors trying to find some value. They're going for the Nexus that's building the mothership, by the way. If that goes down, that'll be a big win for Solar.
Yeah, that is going to be pretty bad. I mean, he takes that out. That puts Harstem on only 3 bases mining. And keep in mind, we're like almost 15 minutes into this game. It's been going on for a while. And the issue is Harstem's like, he's gotten some damage off, but it seems like his army's actually pretty small, pretty unsophisticated. It's like 3 Tempests and then Zealots and Stalkers, which isn't exactly like a Zerg destroying force. Solar, you know, he absorbed a lot of blows, but, you know, as the dust settles over here, we're seeing a position where Solar has a lot of the map. He's got a lot of bases. He has a lot of workers still. Harstem's kind of rebuilding and restructuring an army that should be viable for a push. But I think in the downtime, Solar's just going to be looking very strong.
Yeah, the income differential now massively in favor of Solar, despite having less workers, just because Harstem's saturation is kind of abysmal right now when those Corruptors take down that fourth base. Mothership getting rebuilt. Harstem going for double expansion while attacking with these Zealots in the top left. I love this move on both sides. Create pressure on the complete opposite side of the map while double expanding and setting yourself to have a fully saturated 5-base economy here with those 84 probes.
I love the Zealots. I love just sending these out, causing a little bit of chaos here, keeping Solar honest. Both sides are ramping up in supply. It's 2 Nexuses being remade. I guess one just finished, but there's another Nexus being remade here in the bottom right. This is turning out to maybe be the craziest game of the evening, State. We're really getting, you know, so many bases here on the map. Hydras kind of stimming forward, trying to take out some of those Zealots.
I love that we're getting to see Harstem's game plan as it fully unveils, because he is showcasing a really strong mid and late game here, going toe-for-toe with one of the best Zerg players in Korea. Oracle is able to cast Revelation on all these lurkers, and that is going to allow these Tempests to try and get some ship damage in. Already taking down 1 lurker. Might be able to get that Overseer if they could. It would be nice, but there's actually a lot more behind it. So Cloaking Field not going to do all that much for the Dutch Protoss. His +3 shields, or +2 shields, excuse me, is finishing up, but this is a hard angle for Solar to engage off creep with Hydras, even with the lunge ability. I mean, like, they're dashing backwards there to retreat. The Nexus, or not the Nexus, the hatchery is being taken down in the top left. Solar, it looked like he was stabilizing there for a moment because Harstem wanted to get so much damage done after he wiped Solar's ground army out. But since then, Harstem has just been taking W after W, now attacking this base all the way down here at the 6 o'clock position. Corruptors, they are coming in. There's a ton of Corruptors trying to find a connection on these Tempests.
You know, the Protoss has the push potential. With the Tempest, you know, suddenly there's not a whole lot you can do. Oh gosh, he's going to come in here. He harpoons 1, takes out that Tempest. Yes, he does. The thing is, you know, when Protoss tries to push, I don't feel like they're actually getting that much damage done. Hydra's really nicely controlled here.
What a flank coming in from Solar, actually. That is a nice win for the Zerg. Only 4 or 5 Hydras remaining at the end of the day, but the Corruptors were able to take down all those Tempests. Still, very cost-efficient trades overall here for Harstem. Solar's going to try and attack in, but you see, there isn't that much to support the Lurkers. Luckily, there are just barely enough Lurkers to finally push through. But this is getting kind of scrappy right now. More gateway units warping in here at this 3rd base. Harstem trying to reinforce. He almost has enough just on the ground to overwhelm these Lurkers and really mitigate the splash damage by truly getting on top of them in kind of a 360 surround sort of way. But these Corruptors are being phenomenally annoying.
You know, it's always funny when the Corruptors get their job done. I'm so glad they added this ability for them to bile stuff down, because you could suddenly, like, if you win a fight, it's like, well, let's just go find some key tech structures and wipe them out. I think that Solar might be able to come through again and break this expansion. And if Harstem, excuse me, loses the 2 bottom right bases, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but his 3rd base is mined out, right? Or practically mined out.
Yeah, it's very close to being mined out. I think a lot of it's going to come down to this engagement for Harstem. I almost wouldn't mind if you just stopped making units in the air. I know the Corruptor count is thinned out, but really it's just trying to deal with these lurkers on the ground.
Oh my god, the Corruptors are just going to dive on top of the Tempest.
I genuinely feel like, okay, well, not with these lurkers morphing in, but up until this point, GG's called. Harstem was so close to having enough on the ground to finally clean up those lurkers. That was a really back and forth game. It felt like the advantage just kept swinging from one side to the next.
It was kind of weird because it felt like Harstem had an opportunity, but like it's so slow, like pushing with Tempests. It just takes so much time. Like, and a lot of times you'll have, like, I mean, I think the Siege Tank push is the most obvious version of that, right? You have the advantage that you can fire into them, and they can't, if they try to engage you, you're going to get your first few shots off, right? And so a lot of TVZ is just the Zerg trying to muster enough forces to then smash the push before the hatchery is killed off. But like the Protoss version of that push with Tempest versus Lurkers, it's like, it takes so long to actually hack and saw your way through the Lurkers and to eventually hit the hatchery that even when Harstem seemed like he had a push, that it was like, by then Solar's already made a big enough army, he's just going to try to, fight you again. So it really looked like a hopeless game for Harstem, despite the fact that I think he actually played pretty well.
Yeah, just there at the end, he just didn't have the pieces to the puzzle anymore, because if you can't have an army that can stand up to those lurkers, if you don't have a Skytoss fleet, it is a challenge when they get in those high numbers. But up until that point, I really liked Harstem's approach to the game. I mean, especially, I feel for him a little bit, because I think we've all been there in that moment where you win a decisive battle and you feel like, okay, this is my opportunity to end the game. Because Harstem, he didn't take a 5th Nexus after he had that resounding victory on his side of the map versus Solar.
Yeah.
He didn't expand. Instead, what he did was he warped in a ton of gateway units and he went right into the heart of the beast. He tried to take down Solar's additional bases. He tried to take down his economy, and it almost worked. Solar was hanging on by a thread at that point. Harstem was so close to breaking him, but when Solar was able to just barely stabilize with just enough Hydras and Queens and like 1 or 2 lurkers morphing in, I mean, that's literally how close it was.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you're kind of kicking yourself for not having a Nexus back at home, for not just been remaxing either on carriers or on Tempest, because suddenly a lot of that advantage that you once had has kind of been washed away. And so the game kind of turned into this back and forth swing of advantage. But really, I think the best macro game that we've had so far today, that was really exciting to watch.
Yeah, it was. I think it was maybe the best game of the tournament here today. We're ready now for game number 2 with these two. Solar and Harstem making a pretty epic end game there. Harstem, by the way, nothing cheesy. Absolutely honorable macro Protoss play here. Just trying to tech up, trying to kind of going for completionist mode as far as army development. And so far it hasn't really worked out, but the two Zergs that we have left in this tournament are extremely competent and strong in kind of late game environments.
Yeah, also training against the best Protoss players in the world right now in Korea, as we've really had a resurgence for players like Hero and Classic.
Yeah, I think with Protoss in Korea looking pretty strong lately, you definitely got to assume that Solar is going to be in great shape.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what the game plan is going to be here from Harstem. As Tace was pointing out, if Harstem was a Dungeons & Dragons character, he'd definitely be lawful good, as he's been doing basically nothing but macro so far today. I'm kind of expecting the exact same thing from him, with maybe just a couple of tweaks here and there. I want to see him do something cheesy, but you're right. I agree with you. I think he's probably not. He just seems to want to kind of play, air quotes, like correct or proper style of PvZ. So if that's going to be the case, it's going to be a Stargate thrown down here and then an Oracle, and trying to get up the 3 bases. Now Solar, who randomizes his builds really well, I'm not sure what he wants to do here. It seemed like for a little bit he wanted to try to do some kind of timing attack, and it almost cost him the game. I think Harstem defended pretty well and then played a pretty solid macro game, but Solar just basically took every blow pretty well from those pushes. It didn't really lose anything key. I guess he lost that hatchery at the top left, I think maybe twice, but overall he didn't really lose any of the pieces of the puzzle so he was able to kind of re-macro up and get pretty healthy. I feel like one of the best marks of a top-tier Zerg player is just how hard are they to kill, Yeah. After a decisive victory goes in the favor of Harstem like that, a lesser Zerg is just going to crumble under the pressure of the counterattack, but Solar just was barely able to survive, and oftentimes it's moments like those that truly just dictate how a game or even a series is going to go, as Harstem once again opting for the 1-gate Stargate. I would be surprised at this point if we saw him deviate and go for something like a 2nd gateway. I think it really is just going to be the Adept, the Stalker, the 3rd Nexus, and the faster Blink. And I really don't mind seeing this too much from Harstem. It's kind of refreshing because it's a slightly different take on the macro PvZ style that we see from a lot of the Korean Protoss players go for. You know, his Blink is a little bit faster. He gets 4 gates a little bit faster. The 3rd base, it feels a little bit more greedy because it's just 2 gateway units and the and only 1 gateway behind it. And so it's a different flavor of macro PvZ, but it's very fun to watch.
So this Adept not really able to get that much done. He's gonna try to cruise out of here with the Shade. Not gonna find anything really of interest here. And so he gets to escape. The Oracle's about halfway done right now. Oh, I'm kind of surprised he's going to try to move back in here. He doesn't have that much HP on this thing. And there's that 3rd Nexus. Basically timed out so that it will be started, you know, right before Ling's speed finishes here. No Lings on the map. No way to deny that, especially not when the Oracle's about to pop out.
Yeah, just these 4 speedlings, I think. And Solar sees that Harstem, he wants to take down this Overlord right here. Harstem does have a probe here. I believe it's perfectly placed in that wall, and so these Lings are going to try to get past it, but no pylon or battery thrown down behind, so Oracle actually going to have to come back, chase down at least one of these Lings. Always annoying when the energy on that Oracle's getting burnt. just top it right back up. Energy recharge that thing. Obviously not a disaster by any means here for Harstem. He's going back to the same skeleton of a build. 3 more gateways and Twilight Council coming in.
This is so annoying. 3 more Lings get in here.
This shouldn't be a surprise to Solar. This is the build that up until Glaives gets researched.
I bet that's a fake.
I don't think it is. I think we might actually see Glaives come in here from Harstem, because up until this point, this has looked exactly the same. And it might be the kind of situation where, you know, Solar, because he's getting those Lings in, obviously we can't go into the mind of Harstem in this situation, but because Harstem has gone for this exact setup of the really fast Twilight Council with no Forge, the very fast 3 gateways, the Adept, the Stalker, the 3rd base, it looks like the same build that he's done in all 3 PvZs today. And I wonder if he's just starting the Glaives almost because Solar is scouting the exact same setup.
Yeah, I mean, when you see the Twilight Council upgrading, you don't know what's going on inside of it, right? You just know there's an upgrade, so it's not like you can see that and then go like, oh, you're going Glaives, or you're going, you know, Blink or something like that. So I think this is a good idea. I'm pretty happy to see Harstem try this out. I think this kind of makes sense in a tournament like this, just judging from how his games have gone, to basically disguise some kind of a timing attack with a build that basically looks like what he did in the other games we already casted.
Yeah, but that Ling with the clutchest scout, spotting all of those shades, popping there, the natural expansion, and Solar's figuring this out very quickly exactly what this build is going to be. Stalker is in position, but there's pretty good surface area. 3 Lings can attack this at a time, and also you can't really wall him very easily behind it because the Stalker is so chunky. So Pylon and Adept both going to be thrown there, the natural expansion that will thwart the attack from Solar, and Harstem with these shades sees the Banelings and a ton of Lings, and that's kind of the answer here to these Adepts. Those Glaive Adepts, they tend to bunch up quite a bit, and Banelings do surprisingly well against them, so I would be surprised if we saw Harstem fully commit, unless it was somewhere where those Banelings are not. And Solar, knowing this, is actually really committing. Oh, it's even Banelings morphing in here, the natural expansion. These pylons are going to go down. Gateway unpowered, and the door is wide open. Will we have a recall of the Adepts back to come home here for Harstem, or are these Banelings and Lings going to get so much damage done?
I mean, this is an insane amount of damage. I don't see the recall. I don't see him sending anything back home. There's more Lings that are going to spill in here. The Oracles are back here. The Adepts are like slow walking back home.
Yeah.
Gets the Cybernetics core. That's super annoying to lose that.
This is just so much damage.
Oh my god, and these Banes. Okay, he's just going to go for the... Oh my god, he's going to get the surround.
No, the surround comes in. The Banelings connect. The Adepts get taken out.
That was insane.
Yeah, and you look at the Nexus too, I think that Harstem might not have had enough energy to recall back at home. You know, his macro is too good, as funny as it is. And just such a painful moment right now with those Banelings coming in. Keen insight by Solar, recognizing this weakness in Harstem's base back at home, and absolutely capitalizing as the probe damage continues. The wall once again getting taken down.
Dude, I mean, he might just tap out. This is such a disaster. You know, when you have the timing attack move out and they counterattack and they kill all your workers and your timing attack literally didn't do any damage, I mean, this is just like the worst possible thing. So I don't know what kind of game Harstem wants to play from here. I mean, I respect the fact that he's going to have to fight for his tournament life, but like this is looking really brutal. Force fields there to take out those Lings, but Solar's on 5 bases. Like, he's in such great shape. Harstem's trying to rebuild. He's below 100 supply right now.
Yeah, it's been a lot of bleeding for Harstem here in this game number 2. Those Banelings and Lings got so much damage done. Dozens of probes falling, and it's a 20 worker deficit and 2 bases down here for Harstem. And of course, keep in mind, he's doing this on the back of Glaive, so it's not even like he has Stalkers they can warp in with Blink. He's going to be researching Charge first. I think that's a very smart choice, just because the Charge Zealot's going to be much stronger in a straight-up engagement, and Solar's probably going to try to capitalize on this with a push, but even the Oracle's flying in. I mean, you're not anticipating this many Hydras to come out in right this moment, but Solar is just... I mean, his macro back at home is off the rails. Like, this is
just... It's going to be a wall of damage. I don't expect this game to go on for more than another minute or 2 here. I just don't think there's enough Storm, and certainly not enough Force Fields to kind of like curb this or prevent this, so...
No, Storm only about a quarter of the way done as the Banelings are rolling in. A Templar get taken out. Force Field is going to save the day there. The third base for a little bit, but Solar a little too strong. And that Baneling Ling counterattack, I mean, talk about just killer instinct there from Solar. You have an opponent who's going 4-gate Glaives, is right at your doorstep with those Glaive Adepts trying to find damage. And Solar sees it and he's like, you know what? I've got like a dozen Banelings here. I'm confident enough that I'm going to send every single Ling cross map, turn those Lings that I already have near his natural expansion into Banelings, and just completely break down the door. That was the game-winning decision, and it was a resounding victory.
The Adept timing fell flat on its face, and I mean, I don't know. There's not much else to say. Unfortunately, Harstem has been eliminated. That leaves us with our final match. It's going to be a ZVZ Solar versus SHIN. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, we're going to go to close out Group C. welcome back. We're going to go into our final match here of the evening. Pretty quick day so far here. Although, I don't know, maybe this final one is going to be a little bit more drawn out. It's going to be ZVZ, Solar versus SHIN.
Yeah, Solar versus SHIN. Two players who, when I was looking at the groups as they got announced, I'm like, oh, well, they're the clear favorites to advance from Group C.
Yeah.
Probably expecting both of them to advance. How many foreigners are we really going to have in the round of 8? And then Cham just showed up like a superhero.
He looks so much better than everybody in ZVZ.
It's kind of stunning.
Yeah, I'm very curious now how deep he's going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't really get to explore his other matchups, but, you know, especially for me, like, I cast SHIN and Solar all the time. Like, I'm so used to seeing these guys, and they're both in great condition, so it's kind of a wild thing that that we're here now in this final match. Only one of them is going to move on. We're only going to get one of these powerhouse Korean Zergs to advance.
Yeah, I feel like I would have to still give the edge to Solar here. His ZVZ, at least within Korea, has been so strong recently, and I don't know, man. It's tough to say. It does feel like ever since we had that 10-month hiatus in StarCraft 2, where the scene kind of downsized, waiting for the circuit to effectively get renewed, that basically anybody can beat anybody. I feel like I haven't seen nearly as many upsets in the history of StarCraft 2 as I have over the past couple of months.
Yeah, well, it's weird, right? Because we had all this downtime, and then, you know, everybody comes back and people are in very different shape. We had like 10 months off of StarCraft 2. EWC was announced. Suddenly all these tournaments pop up because we need to have a filter mechanism to see who's going to be qualifying and going to Riyadh. And it's like, it's been a little bit of a scramble, at least for me as a caster, to try to figure out, okay, where is everybody at?
Yeah.
You know, some players are in incredible shape and clearly never stopped playing. Others took some time off, and that shows as well.
And on top of it, too, I mean, you have to consider endurance also. A lot of these pros that I'm talking to, they aren't going to events sometimes not because they don't want to play in it, but because it's like, well, I'm flying to like Europe to play in this tournament, and then I would have to fly back to my house to try and qualify for this tournament. And then 1 or 2 weeks down the road, there's another tournament that's happening. It's kind of crazy. We are moving at lightning speed. I try to always have my finger on the pulse for StarCraft 2 and watch like at least all of the high-profile games, but the fact that there's just so much action happening right now. Like we're cramming almost a year worth of content for StarCraft 2.
It's insane.
In the span of like 3 months. And RSL's part of that too, with like 4 days in a row.
People are like, we're saying, oh, Cham beat Solar just recently in another tournament. I'm like, there's so much going on, I can't personally keep up. But keep in mind, guys, when EWC is done, we do plan to continue the RSL here.
Yeah,
with your support. So.
I think we've got at least we have 2 more seasons locked in for this year, right? And given the pacing of this, I feel like there's a lot of room to kind of have more of like a preparation style, like slow things down, give us some time to breathe.
Well, also, you know, if we keep getting more support on Patreon, we do want to do a live event in studio. We basically wanted to start with something that was like can scale up, because, you know, first we had to build out this broadcast space and get a production team. It's like, okay, that's step 1. But yeah, who knows? I mean, depending on the support we get, we can certainly match in size and scope, you know, whatever the StarCraft 2 scene wants. So in this game, you know, ZVZ, we're watching both the build orders be very mirrored. I feel like when I see these two guys when I cast these two guys facing off against each other, it's a lot more explosive than, as an example, the games we saw with Cham earlier. Like, Cham is much more of a robust macro Zerg. Like, he doesn't want to end the game right away. He feels like he's strong in a longer game, and you know, why not just kind of get to that point and defend properly? But I think these two make for a little bit more poppy interactions.
Yeah, SHIN and Solar both feel a little bit more like aggressors or initiators, whereas Cham, his approach to ZVZ is definitely a lot more based on reactions to what the opponent is doing. He's always, it seems, trying to be a couple of drones ahead of the opponent, and he does that at the expense of having, say, all of his tech and all of his upgrades a little bit behind, but in the end he actually does have more money, so once those upgrades complete, he's probably got more stuff. And it's a little bit surprising, again, to me, that we have Solar and SHIN here with completely mirrored builds and nothing happening in terms of early aggression. I really thought that with so many Zergs in this group today, I mean, Solar, Cham, and SHIN, that we were going to have a little bit more of a range in terms of all-ins, in terms of timing attacks, and I feel like the closest thing we've had to that is maybe something on like 3 bases, hatch tech, 40+ drones,
Yeah, it's like
roaches.
a roach missile attack timing, which is fine. That's a strong way to play the game. But yeah, I'm used to seeing a lot more like, Ling Bane stuff going on here. For now, I mean, the builders are just completely mirrored here. Ling's speed is even, so is the Baneling's nest.
It's like casting pre-Legacy of the Void PvP, waiting for the Cybernetics core to
like,
finish.
Come on. So, yeah, for now, it's just going to be all about the development. If you want to build the copy in ZVZ, this is kind of the way to do it. If you're not going to do anything crazy like this. Baneling's Nest, it can be for aggression. It can also be just for defensive purposes.
It's just something that you basically always
You basically
get.
just have to get it, every time. And if you don't, it's like, well, you are putting yourself at risk and also giving up a lot of opportunities for defense and offense. And you can see it's down to a science. It's like, now you make 6 links, The queens are about to pop out here. First Baneling starts.
I think the biggest deviation that I've seen so far is that Solar just had a round of 2 drones, but Shin made 3.
Yeah.
All right, now we have Shin really, really pumping the gas on the drones. This is the first time we're playing a game now, Tasteless, all right?
Yeah, this is where we've got a lot more drones coming down here. Now, the Roach Warren started, so they're getting to basically the same spot. They're doing it in slightly different orders here.
Yeah, additional gas geysers also coming in. Evolution Chamber going to be a touch faster here for Solar, so that might mean that he will be the one to pull the trigger first should there be a timing attack, but Shin just a touch behind him on that as well. Really just continuing to keep the pace, even when it seems like we're going to have some deviation in terms of one player is going to go for the upgrades faster than the other guy, or one's going to go for the Roach Warren maybe 30 seconds faster than the other. Things just kind of have their way of naturally equalizing here. Now, Shin, he is able to get a Zergling into the main base of Solar and confirm that things are effectively identical.
Yeah, it's, for now, I think we're going to have to wait, basically. It's missile attacks on both sides here, and the layers. I mean, it's funny. I thought we were going to have, like, a lot more, like, kind of crazy action-packed games, but it's been a lot more like these deep macro kind of growth ZVZs here. And that's what we're going to have here now. In fact, I think we're probably going to have both guys go into a 4th base before they do anything else.
Yeah, Solar right now is going up to 4 geysers. Shin is going up to 5. And that is one of the most, the biggest distinguishing differences in this game thus far. I mean, we've casted so many different ZVZs, and we always joke about how they kind of, well, when they both macro up, it's just the same game all the way through 5 minutes. This one actually was basically the same game all the way through 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I mean, they've both been doing the exact same thing here. So, I mean, I kind of welcome this. I think we're going to go into a pretty epic late game fight here. Missile attacks are, like, basically perfectly synced up. We have 10 roaches being made here for Shin, and we still have droning happening right now for Solar. So I'm waiting to see, like, are we going to have... Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be Shin who'll be attacking first here.
It certainly is looking like that. Finally taking that next geyser, and it's nothing but roaches right now for Shin. So Solar did just have a big swell of drones. He's actually more than a dozen drones above his opponent right now. And good news for him, he is adding in additional roaches. I was worried for a moment he might pull what Cham did in his very first ZVZ of the night and just go absolutely crazy with the droning, but instead he's dialing it back, taking a 4th base. Actually, so is Shin. In the top right, I think Shin with these lings should be able to get the cancel on that hatchery here in the bottom right. Yeah, in fact, actually confirming the kill, I'm quite sure. Yeah, that was a kill on that hatch.
Yeah, beautifully done. So he takes that out. That's really been the first kind of significant thing that's happened in this game. It's just mostly been just this race on either side to develop. We have... He's going for a Cham. He's going for the Spire over here.
He's doing the Spire, man.
So this is where we're really seeing a real branch out here.
It's double Evo for Solar as well. Okay, so now we have some real changes coming in. Solar is going to try and go tit for tat and get a cancel here, but actually massive Baneling hit, able to take down all of those lings. And now Shin is moving cross map with a lot of roaches. Looking at the army supplies, Shin's got a lot more right now, and he's actually going to be attacking into this position and going for a concave. Actually, immediately just stutter stepping on top of this. The lings are also flooding in. Solar, who just had a round of roaches finish off, more of them are coming in. He's actually going to have to retreat behind the wall. This might work against him. Should Shin decide to pull back a little bit and use the concave against Solar with that Sim City. As it is right now, Advantage, I think, starting to go towards Solar. We have 13 more roaches in production. There are drones falling here at the third base, but once these roaches pop, I think he should stabilize. But keep in mind, behind all this, SHIN does have 11 Mulisks in production. Actually, that's just it. Man, I really thought Solar, with those roaches being queued up, was going to be able to stay safe, but in fact, that is just a game-ending blow.
Yeah, beautifully done. I love the way that he attacked in there. Spire kind of coming behind that. Sometimes I look at this, I'm like, is the Spire there for looks, or is it because he wants to have like a follow-up tech and like, you know, if he's going to be defending everything on the ground, maybe he can come in after that and hit him with something else. Anyways, beautifully done. Beautifully done.
That was a it was a really slow build up to that timing attack. That was, I want to say, one of the most mirror matchups I think that I've ever casted.
It was a little weird to cast because I'm like, well, they're both doing the same thing. They're just still doing it. They keep, you know, nobody's deviated the entire time, but eventually it happened. Beautifully done. So SHIN is up with a 1-0 lead here, and yeah, let's see if he can close it out with a 2-0, or if Solar's going to tie it up 1-1.
Yeah, let's see if we have another 5 minutes of nearly identical builds.
yeah,
it's like watching that dance scene in Pulp Fiction where they're just like perfectly matching each other's energies. Like, I'm building the drones now, I'm building the drones now, just completely in pace.
So we're going to get our game loaded up here, and let's see if Solar can try to bounce back, or if SHIN is going to close this out with that 2-0 lead. And what's been, I got to say, like a little bit of a quicker day, quicker evening overall here. We've just had a couple of short games, shorter than normal at least. Anyways, in the top right is SHIN in the red, and the bottom left is Solar in the blue.
Yeah, it has been a fast day. Harstem was able to bring us, I think, our biggest macro game of the night in one of his PVZs versus Solar, but besides that, we kind of breezed on through. It's kind of surprising because it feels like, of course, in a day of so many ZVZs, you're expecting it to go quickly, but we haven't had any of those crazy early game all-ins or timing attacks.
Yeah, it's funny. It's been a day of very specific games. You know what I mean? It's been a lot of kind of macro, and yeah, we're not having the kind of poppy ZVZs that I thought. Harstem, by the way, had some pretty impressive games back there, just unable to kind of push through against these powerhouse Zergs here.
Yeah, it was certainly better than map score looked. I'm a little bit bummed that we're not going to be getting any more Harstem games in RSL Season 1, but hopefully he will be back for RSL Season 2 or Season 3. He's certainly capable of it. One of my favorite players to watch.
So in this game, you know, we're going to wait and see, is there going to be the deviation in the builds? It's been a lot of powering so far.
Basically every ZVZ has been like this so far today. I feel like I'm in an episode of The Twilight Zone right now.
And yeah, it's kind of weird to say that one of these guys is going to advance, the other one's going to be knocked out.
It really was kind of a day of upsets with Cham just coming in, going, what, 4-1 overall versus SHIN and Solar, two of the better ZVZ players that we have here in Korea. And even just fiending for more. I loved how right after he wrapped in, like our Mapu in the chat was just like, yeah, man, congratulations. We'll see you in a little bit. And he's like, yeah, man, give me some more ZVZs. Like, he is eager for this matchup. He has absolutely locked in. And for somebody like Solar, who up until recently has been showcasing some of the best ZVZ games in the world, it's kind of surprising to have him in this group. One map win, or one map loss, I should say, away from elimination here.
Yeah. This time around, just more droning here. Nobody's popped out a ton of lings. I feel like we're unlocking a new difficulty setting here in Cassidy and trying to figure out how to talk about stuff. And this many ZVZs where they're both doing the exact same thing. But yeah, we've got the third base coming down, and that third hatchery here for SHIN is going to be just a little bit later.
How exciting.
Yeah.
That's like 5 seconds later than the hatchery of Solar.
This is peak StarCraft 2, State.
Oh, Baneling gets started here for Solar. Let's see if we have a Baneling nest for SHIN. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is kind of good if you're a Zerg player at home and you're like, man, I really suck at ZVZ. How do I play a macro game?
Well, you
now have like a dozen games you can look at and be like, well, this is exactly what you do, as done 12 times in a row.
So, yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, I don't think we're going to see either of these guys do anything too aggro here. We're literally still seeing it mapped out. It's like 6 lings on both sides and then 5 drones. We did have a couple more lings that were produced here coming out for SHIN, but Now it's going to be the Roach Warren here as part of the wall-in. Same thing over here. But yeah, if you wanted to copy a build, this is kind of the bread and butter ZVZ opening that allows you to kind of branch into whatever kind of game you want if you're not going to do some kind of an all-in.
Yeah, this is the build, man. Solar is going a little bit heavier on the drones this time as opposed to Shin. Shin is opting for a little bit more safety here with the extra round of Lings, a couple more Bailings being mixed in, and he's just going to go right on back to droning. So I think eventually we're going to reach that 5-6 minute mark, and we're going to start to have some really meaningful deviations, because I feel like in a ZVZ where the games are effectively the same like this all the way through the beginning, it's only when you're deciding, all right, when is my +1 range attack going to come in? When is my layer timing going to come in? What am I building up towards? That things change a lot. By the way, the Baneling,
that was so close. So
close to finishing just in time to kill all of those Lings there from Shin. Actually, Shin trying to get some damage done. We do have 2 Banelings coming in. One of the Queen is going to be able to take at least one of them down.
And this isn't going to do anything. He
but
actually shoots that down with the last Roach.
Yeah, nothing of consequence happening, but I'm very, very happy that we at least have a little bit of action here.
Shin has the missile attack upgrade coming. He's starting to accumulate a lot more Roaches. Now, I can't tell. So this might be the same thing here from Solar, although he is getting a layer. So I guess actually we do finally have that deviation.
Yeah, it's just it takes 5 or 6 minutes when you have mirror builds like this one to be like, okay, where exactly are we heading? But give StarCraft 2 a couple more years in the same patch, and I guarantee it's going to get pushed to 6 or 7 minutes.
So I want to put a little reminder here while we still have some downtime here. We're going to be on tomorrow, and then we have a week off.
Right.
So don't forget, if you've been enjoying the RSL, we're going to have, I think, a little bit of a different schedule after EWC. By the way, these Lings are going to come back here. This is actually a pretty good move. You see, somehow doesn't kill a single drone there, though. That's kind of wild. It evenly distributes his damage. The Lings are going to run through, by the way. He'll be able to see the layer.
Yeah, layer gets spotted. Maybe maximum 1 drone goes down there at the 3rd base, so some nice control there by Solar. But for Shin, I think he really is just looking for that scouting information. See how many drones his opponent has, how greedy he is building. And on Shin's side of the map, he's pumping out more Roaches, morphing in some Ravagers, and a ton of Lings. He might actually be going for a timing attack. Solar is about 10 drones ahead, so a little bit more greedy, but the fact that he's already building Spine Crawlers on his side of the map, that he is pumping Roaches, pumping Ravagers, even adding some Banelings into the mix, some extra Banelings.
So this is going to be reinforced with Lings coming down here now. The Banes are morphing. They're not. Actually, they're going to be done just in time here. The Spines, keep in mind, it takes a long time to relocate a Spine. Spine Crawler's far back enough. It's not going to really play much of a role here in the fight that's coming up. The sniping on the Banes in the front has been really good. There's some Banes parked in the back. It doesn't look like he wants to send those out here. Good targeting again with the Roaches as well.
It's a better concave for Solar, though. These RBs very even. It feels like Shin has just a little bit more here on the front line. Solar is going to retreat to the safety of this wall. +1 missile attack just about to finish here for Solar. The last couple of seconds have had an upgrade advantage here for the Red Zerg. Shin. And now coming down from this ramp, yes, you do have to micro back. It's kind of a hard position to attack into with these vials, but when Solar does get the engage, he does have that better concave. Actually, now Stutter's stepping forward, going for these 2 low HP Ravagers. One of them does get focused down. The Queen is going to fall there for Solar, but I feel like he is just about to stabilize. And let's not forget, he does have 10 more workers, so this is a big win here for Solar. The upgrades are equal. He even has Roach speed, so he's able to chase down these Ravagers. Shin, his lair is only 3/4 of the way done. The upgrades are even. Solar has the better eco, the better tech. We might have him just build up for a counterattack, Tasteless.
Yeah, I mean, Solar's in fantastic shape. He held that perfectly. It's funny that Spine was made, and I was kind of talking about how it's not in a great position. Did not matter at all.
Yeah, just kind of a safety Spine there in the 3rd.
So, you know, he's in great shape, and Shin's in an awkward spot. He's still about 10 workers behind here. He's going to drone up a little bit more. Solar's going to take his 4th base, and I guess Shin kind of has to take his 4th base as well, but he hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, no 4th base yet for Shin, as he's basically working on saturating the 3 bases that he's got already. I would expect a 4th hatchery to be in the pipeline pretty soon here for the Red Zerg, but at the same time, it's a little bit of a dangerous moment because Solar, he's been pumping the Roaches and he is moving cross map. He's going to have Roach speed for at least another 20 or 30 seconds, whereas Shin does not. So mobility absolutely in the advantage here of the blue Zerg player. And SHIN has to be careful that he does not get caught out of position. You see him trying to set up here at the natural, at third base. Solar is going to stutter step forward, going for these Ravagers, and SHIN, he just sees the writing on the wall. GG is called, and we are going to go to a map number 3.
Yeah, this is going to be the final game of the evening. SHIN basically tried to come in with the timing attack. It did not quite work. You know, when you see the roaches by themselves and the lings aren't there to reinforce to get in the front, once a couple of those roaches get picked off, there's no more momentum. It's kind of a weird concept, because a lot of times when you think about tanky units, you think about things with a lot of HP, right? And like charge lots, right? They've got enough HP that, you know, you have to kill them off before they can shoot what's behind them. But in ZVZ, the tanky unit is actually the unit with like almost no HP. It's the Ling. You just want to get enough of them in front that all the other roaches are targeting the Lings instead of the roaches in the back. And yeah, he just didn't have enough momentum with that push to make anything work.
Yeah, and Solar also able to be able to pounce on those Ravagers in a moment where the best thing SHIN had going for him with that attack was kind of biling both of the ramps and making the micro very difficult for Solar to execute.
Yeah.
As soon as you get on top of those Ravagers, even just killing one of them with Roach Speed finishing up, that is a big swing in momentum. And guys, our game is loading up. It's going to be the final map here for Group C in Week 1 of the RSL. Solar versus SHIN. SHIN spawning as the red Zerg here in the top right, Solar the blue Zerg in the bottom left. One of them is going to advance into the round of 8 playoff bracket. One of them is going home.
So, let's see how long we're going to have to talk about them doing the same things or not.
5 minutes at least, tasteless.
Like, well, it's funny because when you cast it, it's like the first time you have to do that, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, I can do it. But then when it happens enough games in a row, I'm like, I don't know, guys, there's only so many things I can say about ZVZ here. But yeah, I mean, this has been just a great tournament so far. It's too bad one of these guys is going to get knocked out, but Cham kind of stealing the show here with his incredible performance. Do not sleep on him when we get into the upper brackets here.
It has just been so cool to watch him perform at the level that he did today, taking down 2 of the best Zerg players in Korea, because we were talking about this on the break. He's one of those guys that back in the early days of StarCraft 2, 10 plus years ago, I would hit Cham on the ladder when he was just a young man, and I would take most of the game against him. You know, I was feeling pretty good. I was like, oh man, that's fun. And then I came back to America a while later for like a trip, and I matched against Cham again, and he was just bopping me, and I'm like, wait, what happened? Why is he so much better? And since then, he has just continued to level up, and much like you, I mostly focus on like the Korean scene of StarCraft 2, so I'm aware of Cham. I've played against him. I know that he is a legend of the scene in the Americas, flying to Cheesadelphia's, playing in Copa Americas. He's a legend out there, but we don't get to see him. We don't get to cast him very much. And to see him now come onto a stage like the RSL and have such decisive victories, he drops the first map of the group and then wins every single game after that. It is just so awesome. I love seeing players develop like this.
Yeah, it's, you know, you kind of already said it, but like, yeah, we're used to the players in the Korea scene. You know, we don't get out to that many international events. So I've always been aware of him, but yeah, he's not a guy who's resided in Korea for a while or, you know, competed on stage in GSL, where some of these other players like Scarlet or like Raynor now, you know, where they pop in and out of Korea. I get to kind of familiarize myself a little bit more with him.
Yeah, Raynor and Scarlet, by the way, going to be playing tomorrow in Group D alongside Showtime and Classic. So make sure you tune in tomorrow, same time, same place.
Yeah, that should be a great day of games there. I'm super excited that Scarlet's in the tournament. I'm very interested in seeing what kind of condition she's in as well.
Yeah, I wonder how much she has been playing. I'm very curious about it. It feels like there's a bit of a fog of war right now again. I mean, we've mentioned it a couple of times, but with such a long hiatus and then coming back, it's kind of like, where is everybody really at? It's been almost a chaotic time in StarCraft 2, which really makes not just casting games, but also just watching games very exciting, because you have guys like Zaun, where it feels like he's been bubbling at the surface of like round of 8s and round of 4 Code S's for a very long time. Suddenly burst onto the scene, like he's taking down Serral, winning a series versus Serral in Bulgaria, getting a top 4 in that tournament in BGE. It's just, I find it extra fun when you have a hard time predicting what the results are going to be.
Yeah, well, the other thing too with Scarlet, from what everybody says, is that she doesn't have to play that much to be in really good shape.
She's more of a cerebral player.
Yeah, some people that can kind of just think about the game and be good. So this game, we've got a huge timing attack coming in. It's not an all-in because there's drones being made behind it, but there are banelings in here as well. This is hitting right where the hatchery is about to finish, which puts you in a really difficult spot because you either have to cancel immediately or you have to try to save it. And it's already down to half health. He's going to turn his lings onto that right now. There's not enough lings. The Banes are almost done.
Oh, the Banelings finished just in time to save one of those queens for at least a moment. So the third hatch is not going to fall. 2 Banelings now coming into the mineral line of Solar, getting good connections, but with only 1 ling alive, it cannot get the finishing blow on 3 of those drones. So in the end, only 3 workers going down for Solar, but behind this, SHIN, he was droning heavily, going up to 40 workers versus the 30 of his opponent for just a moment. He's recharging now with more lings, with more Banelings, as Solar is going to try and get some counter damage done. Roach Warren also in the pipeline here for SHIN. He's building an evolution chamber in the wall to try and minimize the surface area those lings have. And in kind of a funny way, despite how exciting that moment was, you look at the supplies, dead even, worker counts, dead even, military supply, dead even. I feel like SHIN probably has a very slight edge after those engagements, but
yeah,
we are equalizing a little bit. The main advantage that Solar is going to have over the next few minutes is this +1 melee, and I think that's one of the reasons why we see him queuing up so many lings. He wants to capitalize on that advantage.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more lings that are going to hatch over here for Solar. It's the Baneling connections, really. That engagement that they had back there, it was like 2 Banelings each connected on a decent clump of the lings, and that's, you know, that's water on the fire. That just puts out that attack immediately. Melee attack is about to finish here for Solar. I don't know if he can really do that much with this because obviously Banelings don't really care if they're fighting lings with stronger attacks, right? They just need to touch them to wipe them out. But he's making a lot more behind this. More Banelings morphing in here. There is a certain amount of roaches here for SHIN, and it's not the easiest thing to do, but if you can get the roaches to shoot down 1 or 2 of the Banes before they connect, it makes a huge difference in the fight.
I almost feel like Solar is going in with this. I thought it was going to be a swell of lings to try and take advantage of the upgrade timing, but
yeah.
Solar hasn't made a drone in so long. Right now it's 44 workers to the 37 of Solar, and he's pumping roaches now. He is starting to just trickle out 1 or 2 drones at a time as missile attack also gets started up. But it has been feeling like he's posturing to get some damage done for quite a while now, trying to get us around on those lings. Is he just going to push now into the third base? How many Banelings do we actually have available here for SHIN? There is at least 1 assisting these roaches, kind of like the bodyguard for the roaches against the massive number of Zerglings that Solar's got. And I wonder, because we see this income advantage, Solar has to get something done. Once these roaches are done, it almost feels like their role for Solar is basically going to be to try and snipe the defensive Banelings of SHIN so the lings can work their magic.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like for now it's going to be 3 base versus 3 base. The lings are going to try to come in, and they're not going to be able to do that much. I think we're going to have to see a 4th base on either side. I don't think that there's really a way that you can attack in again.
I think
but there's
Solar
16 more. Well, he's gotten 16 more lings, so yeah, I take it all back. He is going to try to come in and break them. Right now it's 52 drones to 38 here. So Solar, you know, he's going to have to actually basically topple him right now. SHIN, it's going to be up to him being defensive and kind of knowing how to position this, how to angle this. And Solar wants it in 2 different locations. Now, it's all roaches over here, so these lings are going to nicely get into the front. Meanwhile, it's a counterattack over here into the main.
Yeah, Zerglings going into the main base. Those Banelings, they do get thwarted the natural expansion by the roaches, and now Solar, he is pushing here into the third base. Roaches continuing to chase it on, but it seems like SHIN just has a little bit too much, even with a +1 melee. These lings not really able to get good damage done. Yes, they are killing some drones here in the main base, but they will quickly be stopped. 6 drones is not enough damage here for our blue Zerg player. He's adding in a ton more workers behind this, trying to buy time. There isn't a lair for SHIN just yet, so we have no roach speed. The counterattack, if there is one, is going to be really slow, but just look at the armory supplies tasteless. 88 for SHIN, 27 for Solar. SHIN, only until this point is Solar eclipsing him in workers, and we're about to have a massive flood of roaches just barrel down the third base of Solar. It might be SHIN moving on into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like this is going to be the killing blow here. SHIN's going to come in, and there's just not enough. I mean, Solar, you know, there it is, GG. Can't even play-by-play. Just ends the game. All right. Just sees the roaches there and goes, nope, that's it.
Yeah. Man, in kind of a twist of fate, Solar, who in my mind, was the favorite to advance in first place from this group, being so good historically in ZBZ, just kind of got beat in macro games, both by SHIN and by Cham.
It was an impressive showing here. Again, Cham, I feel like really kind of stole the show. Played so well, so much better than both SHIN and Solar. Harstem had an amazing performance, but just wasn't able to make anything work. You know, kind of went with a macro tech style. And yeah, was never able to make it work with a push. So 2 Zergs advanced today.
Yeah, gonna have a couple more Zergs in the round of 8 here. And of course, big thanks to archonstudio, the official broadcast partner here for Season 1 of RSL.
Yeah, we love their tabletop miniatures game. It's going to be available for pre-order later this year. I would recommend you go to archonstudio's website. They got a bunch of great products on there. And we really appreciate them sponsoring us, because with this sponsor, we were able to double the prize pool. So yeah, special thanks to them.
Yeah, saving StarCraft.
Guys, do us a favor. Consider signing up for our Patreon. It's patreon.com/ReviveSC2. We've got a whole bunch of different tiers. The more you give, the more we try to give back to you. As an example, the Stalker tier here, it's $25 a month. You're able to also vote for players and maps, so you get to get a little bit of interaction there. You know, we don't know the future of StarCraft 2 in a post-EWC world. So what we wanted to do was develop something where we can keep pumping out professional level broadcasts, you know, where we have the casters together. We've got professional observing. We've got production. And yeah, we want to have something that's kind of seasonal, you know, like the old OSLs or MSLs, or, you know, when GSL was a bigger tournament. If you do sign up for the Patreon, you get a 20% discount on all Tasteless TV and, of course, RSL merch. That's on my website, tastelessthreads.com. Mugs, hoodies, T-shirts, pins, and a lot of other cool stuff. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, everything a gamer needs. And we're almost done wrapping Season 1 here of the RSL. It is the 19th of June. We have one more day tomorrow, same time, same place, and then we have 1 week off, as Home Story Cup will be taking place next week. And then we're going to return on Thursday for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday RSL. And, you know, we have to kind of pack the schedule like this because of EWC, but in the future, I think we're going to have a lot more breathing room to make this like the big preparation style format of Leagues of Bygone.
We just don't know the schedule yet, right? Like, I mean, it's just what we had to do for this is we literally had to figure out what days we could even have a tournament, because it didn't overlap with another tournament. So we appreciate you guys being willing to jump around with the schedule that we've got. Obviously, when we finish up our finals, we're going to be going right to Riyadh for EWC to crown the StarCraft 2 World Champion. So this is our results so far.
Yeah, the group standings, Kieran Björn advancing from Group A, Hero and Clem from Group B, and now 2 Zergs joining them in Group C. So honestly, a very even spread. In Group D, we have a very interesting mix of players. Classic, the reigning GSL champion, Showtime, one player that I really look up to, especially in PvZ, someone that I love to model my own gameplay off of, because he has such a cool approach to that matchup. Is going to be going up against Raynor and Scarlet. Scarlet, again, one of those players who is also here on the fan vote. So if you want to be a part of that decision-making process in future RSLs, make sure you support us on Patreon. In any case, tomorrow, it's going to be really exciting. We're going to have 2 more good players joining here in the round of 8. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty hype. A lot of fan favorites there for tomorrow. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us for today's RSL for Group C. We're going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Consider signing up for the Patreon. We love you. Bye-bye.